Hello and welcome to the first ever Mario Party minigame review! Are you ready to join me in reviewing every single minigame Mario Party has to offer? It's going to be a wild ride, but here's to hoping we have some fun along the way. Today's minigame is Balloon Burst. The point of the game is to blow up your Bowser balloon before your opponents by mashing on the A and Z or A and B buttons as fast as you can. What gives this game strategy though, is that the longer you hold down a button, the more air will be pumped into the balloon. So if you just mash them as quick as you can, you'll barely push any air into it. It becomes a challenge of figuring out where that sweet spot is between hitting the buttons fast but also getting maximum air. I like this game. Playing this with 3 other people gets really intense because your first instinct is to draw on those buttons. It almost goes against your natural instinct to slow down a bit so that you get more air out of each button press. But that only drives up the intensity because when you slow down, it makes you feel like you're going to do worse. It becomes very tense and a lot of fun. Yeah, this game falls into the button masher category of minigames, but it's a really good one of those. It's more about timing, and there's some skill that goes into deciding how fast you want your timing to be. This is a great game to start out reviewing with, because it already shows off a lot of what Mario Party's about. Stupid minigames where you're mashing on the controller, the pressure of trying to beat everyone else, and wacky details like how Bowser's face begins to pant when he gets close to popping. It's like he's feeling the pressure build up inside of him. I'm rating this game 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's one of the all-time greats, but it's up there as one of the games you're happy to play whenever it comes up. Even though it's really just a glorified button masher, it does have a depth to it that a lot of other minigames in the category lack by making the length of each button press matter. Try this one out, you'll have fun with it. And that does it for this inaugural review. Thank you for watching, and if you liked it, come back tomorrow for another Mario Party minigame review where we'll be talking about Bash and Cash. Hope to see you then! Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! Today we're talking about Bash and Cash. Bash and Cash is a 1 vs 3 minigame where one person dresses up as Bowser and attempts to run away from the other 3 players who are trying to beat him up with hammers. Every time the Bowser player gets hit, 5 of their coins will be up for grabs. This makes this game one that can be a real reckoner in a game of Mario Party. A player who's in first place can lose some or all of their coins if they wind up as Bowser, and vice versa. A player lagging behind can use this as a way to make up some ground. Playing the game as Bowser isn't too bad. Yeah, the pressure is on to not lose all of your coins, but you're not completely helpless. The trick is to always keep moving. You can also jump on the other players' heads to flatten them for a few seconds and get away from the crowd. Jumping does have a cooldown period of a few seconds, but this seems fair. Otherwise you could just spam the jump button and make it difficult for the other players to hit you. But it does mean you have to strategize your use of jumps. To me, this game is less fun if you're one of the other players though. It gets a little annoying. A lot of the time you end up bumping into the other players as you all scramble to bash Bowser and cash those sweet, sweet coins. And even if you do hit them, the coins don't go directly to you. Instead, they bounce around free for anyone's taking. I found it a bit hard to both hit the Bowser player and collect the coins before someone else did. Because you have to be right next to the Bowser player to hit them, a lot of times it means that another player is already in a better position to collect the coins. You could strategize by staying back from the crowd and counting on them to hit the Bowser player, but you also don't know which direction the coins will bounce out in, so it's still not guaranteed to net you any. But the game isn't horrible. The times when it's the most fun is when the Bowser player is in first place, or when they're a couple of spaces away from getting a star and you need to keep all their coins in order to buy one. Hitting them and knowing you stop them from getting a star is enough to make you not care who collects the coins. It's great. So because of the fact that this minigame can really upend a game of Mario Party in a way that a lot of minigames can't, I'm a little more lenient on this one than I normally would be. I'm still leaving it with 3 out of 5 stars though. I might have only given it 2 stars under different circumstances, but the fact that it's pretty rewarding to have a great run as Bowser where nobody can catch you, and the fact that it can be such a reckoner under the right Mario Party conditions bumps this one up for me. It's not great, but under the right conditions it can go from a game that everyone is so about playing, to being a game that everyone ends up hoping gets selected. Well, maybe not the player who's about to lose coins they need for a star. And that's my review of Bash and Cash. I love saying it that way. Join me for another review tomorrow where we'll talk about Bobsled Run. Hope to see you then.
Oh no!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is Bobsled Run. This is a 2 versus 2 minigame where your goal is to get to the finish line before the other team. The game starts out with you mashing the A button as fast as possible to give your bobsled a running start. Once you're in, you want to push the control stick forward to gain speed and steer. This minigame is alright. I don't hate it. You have to spend some time coordinating with your teammates so that you're both steering in the same direction, otherwise your bobsled is not going to do what you want it to. There are also a couple places on the course where one side doesn't have a guardrail, so you have to be especially careful steering during those parts. But that brings me to my biggest issue with this minigame. It's always the same. Once you know the course, the challenge goes way down. You do still have to watch the other team and play off them to block them from passing you, but the more you play the game, the less exciting it becomes. What I wish they could have done is randomize the course so that it changed every time you played it. If you had to round corners unsure if there would be guardrails, or if you were never sure where the boost pads would be, there would be a whole lot more strategy to this. As it is, you know when you're safe to push things and when you need to pull back a bit to avoid falling off. Again, it's not a bad minigame, but it could have done more. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. It's fun to play, but it can grow old after a while. The fact that you're racing against another team does up the ante some, especially when you're in a position where you need to win this minigame for the coins. I'm disappointed it wasn't randomized in some way. Even moving the boost pads around would change the game up, but unless you play a lot of it, it'll be fun for a while. And that's it for my review of Bobsled Run. Tomorrow we'll be reviewing Bombs Away. Subscribe and hit that bell so you can come back and join me for it. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is Bombs Away. This is a free-for-all minigame where your goal is to avoid falling off the island while cannonballs are barraged down at you. The ones that land in the water around the island will cause it to shake and turn, while the ones that land directly on the island will stun you for a few seconds, preventing you from moving. The way to avoid this is by jumping in the air when a bomb hits the island. If you aren't on the ground, you won't be stunned. This game is fun, but I think I always go in expecting it to be better than it ends up being. It feels too easy to survive until the end of the match. It's rare for only one player to be left before time runs out. I think this is because there isn't enough going on. Yeah, the cannonballs that land in the water cause waves to move the island, but it's not hard to stay on during them. Getting hit by a cannonball stuns you for a few seconds, but I don't think I've ever fallen off because of it. By the time I've regained control of my character, not much else has happened. If you're directly on the spot of the island where the cannonball hits, it will send you flying, but the chances of that are relatively small. I think they should have given you an attack button so that you could punch other players off when they were near the edge or when they were stunned. That would have given the game enough variety to keep it frantic and fun. I do like the detail of Squid coming up to drag away the fallen characters though. It's very Nintendo. Like, who are these Squid? Are they taking them away to safety or taking them away to eat them? That's funny to me. Overall, I give this game 3 stars out of 5. I keep expecting it to be a 4 or 5 star game going in, but not enough happens to warrant it. A little bit more going on, and maybe an attack button would have made this game great. Here's to hoping they learn from it and create a future minigame with that in mind. And that's all for my review of Bombs Away. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe, hit the bell, and make sure to come back tomorrow where we'll be reviewing Bombsketball. Gotta love a pun like that. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is Bombsketball. That's a portmanteau of bomb and basketball for those of you that didn't notice. And that's a very fitting name for a game where you play basketball with a bomb, or a bob-omb to be precise. I'm not sure why you would ever do that, but I suppose you could. To be honest, this entire minigame is weird the more you think about it. 4 people are playing basketball with a bob-omb and trying to get it into a decorative fixture of Bowser's head in what looks to be a representation of his castle. And then when you do end up making a basket, Bowser's decorative head blows up, revealing a hidden treasure chest behind the wall with coins in it. Why did the players decide to come here and play a rendition of basketball with a bob-omb and Bowser's head? Did they know there was treasure behind it? Maybe that's why they're here in the first place, but the decision to play a quick pickup game on their way to grabbing the treasure seems odd. This game needs more backstory. Anyway, this is a 2 versus 2 game where your goal is to be the first team to score a basket. Controls are pretty simple. Press A to jump and B to pass the ball or steal it from the opposing team. If you press and jump B in the air, you'll make a shot, with it being easier to score the closer you are to the head, or hoop. The controls for this are somewhat better than you might expect from a Mario Party minigame, in that they're not quite as bad as they could be. Every time I played it, I found the games to end pretty quickly though. Either the person that starts with the ball immediately jumps and runs around everyone else to make a shot, or the other team swipes the ball and immediately makes a goal with it. I never felt the need to do a lot of actual teamwork in this. Trying to pass the ball to a teammate seems too risky because it leaves the ball open to being easily stolen. I feel like it's safest for whoever begins with it to just make a beeline for the goal so that everyone can leave before Bowser realizes we blew up his wall. For such an odd theme, this game is pretty forgettable. There's not enough to it and not enough reasons to actually play basketball. Instead, it's just getting to the hoop as quick as possible. It's one of those games you play and then immediately forget about after it's over. I give it 3 stars out of 5. It can be alright if you play with people who are quick enough to steal the ball before someone scores, but a lot of times that doesn't happen. It comes and goes without much of a thought. And that's all for today's review. Next up is the minigame Bowl Over, which we'll be reviewing tomorrow. If you enjoyed this one, then subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow to see if it's a strike or a gutter ball. Hope to see you then! Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! Our game today is Bowl Over, a 1 vs 3 minigame. One person bowls with a Koopa shell while the other 3 players act as pins and try to avoid getting knocked over. After pressing A to release the shell, the bowler can control its movement down the lane. The other players turn to face whichever way they want and press A to hop in that direction. If any of them are knocked over, 3 of their coins are taken and given to the bowler. The bowler only has 1 shot to knock the players down, and if they hit the sides of the alley, the game immediately ends. This minigame isn't bad. I have trouble deciding how much I like this one because it's pretty fun trying to knock the other players over, but it's not that fun if you're one of the bowling pins. The bowler's strategy is pretty much to avoid the electrified sides while trying to keep an eye on where the other players are standing so that they can line the shell up to hit maximum pins. The pin players part of the game is pretty boring though. You can't really move around very fast and it's hard to strategize much on what to do. You can try spreading out so that the bowler has less of a chance of knocking all 3 players over, but beyond that, there's not much to it and you're stuck making little, unrewarding hops until the game ends. The game also adds a little variety by slightly randomizing the twists of the lane each time you play, so it's always a bit different. This really only affects the bowler though, as the other 3 players are stuck at the end of the lane no matter what. And even for the bowler, it's just a matter of tilting the control stick in a slightly different direction. It can potentially cause the bowler to accidentally hit the sides more often though, which is something. I wish there was more to say about this one, but there's really not. It comes and goes pretty quickly and unobtrusively. For that reason, I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It was pretty close to getting 2 stars, but being the bowler is okay, and it's nice to have a chance to steal some coins from the other players, even if it's not a lot. And that's all for Bowl Over. It's on to the next minigame tomorrow with Box Mountain Mayhem. Can't wait to see what craziness ensues there. If you want to see that review as well, subscribe and hit that bell to make sure you don't miss it. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's review is Box Mountain Mayhem, and boy is there ever a lot of mayhem. Well, not really. There is a little bit though. This game involves a mountain of boxes and your goal is to attack them to get the coins out. A jumps, B attacks, and A and Z is a ground pound. Only real element of randomness in this game is that some boxes are actually womp blocks that will throw you back instead of giving you a coin. This means it'll take you a couple seconds to get back into the action. The game is a quick one. There aren't a huge number of boxes when you consider that there are 4 players destroying them. I guess they couldn't have too many or else too many coins would be handed out. But maybe they could have found some way to give the game more variety. Perhaps some blocks could take multiple hits to destroy, leaving you to decide if you wanted to take more time on a potentially higher reward, or focus on a larger quantity of boxes with a smaller reward inside. But as it stands, there's not much here. Sometimes, a single coin or bag of coins will go wild, giving anyone the chance to pick it up. Other than that, it's just a matter of trying to destroy as many boxes as you can as quickly as you can. There's not much in the way of strategy against the other players. Everyone pretty much does their own thing until the game ends. But since this is a coin game where everyone can come out ahead, I guess that's alright. This game isn't one of my favorites. There's not really anything to it besides punching as much as you can until all the boxes are gone. I give this one 2 stars out of 5. It's forgettable, it's short, and it's not a whole lot of fun. You go through the motions until it's over and then move on. But it's not one that you actively hate to play, it just sort of is. Let's hope tomorrow's game is better. And that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe and hit that bell if you did, because next I'll be reviewing Bumper Balls. This is one of the classic Mario Party minigames that everyone knows about. Will it stand up today? We'll find out tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is the infamous Bumper Balls. This game is simple, be the last one standing. Your only control is to move, so it's a game of knocking everyone else off the island before they get you. I feel like this is one of the more well-known Mario Party minigames. It's definitely one of the ones I remember best. Even the concept sounds fun. Everyone is on a ball and you need to bump everyone else off without getting hit yourself. I would do that in real life, honestly. Having said that, I feel like playing through it now leaves a little something to be desired. Don't get me wrong, this is still a fun minigame. It's just that it seems like bumping into another player doesn't knock them back as much as you think it should. Obviously, the more speed you have before hitting the player, the further back they're bumped. But it's hard to give them that final hit to knock them off. You're either too close to hit them hard enough, or you're too far away to hit them before they move towards the middle. Most times I feel like you're able to give them one good hit which almost knocks them off, but doesn't quite get there. Early on this isn't a problem. When there are still 4 people in the game, it's not hard for one player to give someone a hard nudge towards the edge, allowing another player to come along and finish the job. The problem is once it gets down to 2 players. It seems like more often than not, it turns into a draw because neither player can hit the other hard enough to knock them off. This doesn't happen every time, but it happens enough to seem like an issue. I feel like the power of each bump should be doubled so that even small bumps do something that matters. If it were like that, everyone would scramble to stay in the middle of the map, and anyone caught near the edges would have a good chance of dying. Action. I like that in a minigame. Right now it takes a whole lot of skill and a good amount of luck to knock that other surviving player off. Honestly, I feel like I accidentally knocked myself off more than I knocked the second to last player off. Having said that, this is still a fun game. I do think there's room for improvement, but it's still one I look forward to when it comes up, and I know a lot of others do as well. For that, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It's a fun one. It could be better, but it's still a great concept and I give it credit for that. 4 out of 5, that's a good score. I hope the next game is as good as this one. The name is Buried Treasure. Will the treasure be full of gold, or will it only be fool's gold? Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell, and come back tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is Buried Treasure. I left you wondering last episode if the treasure will be full of gold or fool's gold. So which is it? I'm gonna keep you waiting to find out. Buried Treasure is a game in which each character digs their way underground, trying to be the first to find the hidden treasure chest. Besides moving, your only control is to mash A to dig. The quicker you hit it, the quicker you go. So this does end up turning into a sort of button masher minigame, albeit one with a little something added to it by allowing you to control your direction. The problem is that this game starts out as anything but fair. Because each player starts in a different corner of the screen, one player will always have an advantage by being nearest to the treasure. Sure, they might start off digging away from the treasure, but it's rare that it's ever uncovered by a player that isn't closest to it. Also buried underground are signs with arrows pointing roughly in the direction of the treasure. These are sometimes useful and sometimes not. I found that a lot of times, the treasure has already been uncovered before any of the signs have been. I want to like this game, but it's tough when it's so randomly in one player's favor. Look at this one. How was I supposed to win that one? Or this one? I didn't have a chance. So much of this is luck of the draw. The odds of me being the first one to that treasure is incredibly small. It's really up to the whim of the computer to place the treasure and decide our fate. And do we really want to leave our fate in the hands of technology? I don't think so. Especially not when it's controlled by Mario Party AI. This game would be a whole lot better if it was more fair. What if everyone started on the same side of the map? That would make the distance between each player and the treasure much smaller. It could even be split screen. If everyone had their own map, that would be way more fair. Nothing would be left up to chance and everyone would have to use the signs for help. The only difference would be how fast everyone was able to mash the A button. But as is, this is a flawed game. I want to like it because it could be fun. There are definitely minigames that are plain button mashers with no variety, but this almost stands above them. It's not only about mashing that button, it's also about following the signs and making educated guesses as to where the treasure might be. But the fact that it skews so hard towards whatever player the treasure ends up being closest to forces me to give this one 2 stars out of 5. You're so full of potential buried treasure, but ultimately, you failed me. So the cliffhanger is over. The treasure had some gold, but not a whole lot. You recouped the money it took you to search for it, but didn't come out ahead. Will the next game be better? I don't know, but we can find out together. If you enjoyed this review, then subscribe, hit the bell, and come back to see what tomorrow holds when we dive into Castaways. Hope to see you then! Hello, and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! Today, we're proud to be sponsored by Castaways, the Mario Party minigame in which each character must flick the control stick and reel in treasure. The harder you flick, the further you go, and when you want to reel in your line, just rotate the control stick as quick as you can. Castaways. Catch your treasure today. Yes, today's minigame is Castaways. Just a warning, I'm really bad at this game. You can definitely see it in the footage. For some reason, I always end up either overshooting or landing in a row that's been recently emptied by my fellow players. Once the treasure is pulled to shore, it doesn't repopulate, which means that if you cast your reel to a spot that's been emptied already, you're out of luck and you're forced to spend time reeling in nothing. At first I wished that you would reel in any treasure you found along the way, but I realized that would give each player way too many coins. So I guess the fact that you have to land on the treasure to reel it in is okay. But something about it doesn't quite click with me. I don't want to give it a lower score just because I'm bad at it, so I won't. It's just so hard to figure out where you're casting your line to, though. All the treasure is moving, and it's tough to figure out the timing. If you see something good coming up, you'll go for it, but who knows if the timing will be right to get it or not. And half the time I cast too far or too short to get the treasure anyway. The other half, one of the players on the outside would get up before me. I never got anything. Well, that's not always true. I did get some coins, just not enough to make me feel like I was doing very well. I get that the game can't let you do too well, but a minigame where most of the time you're not doing well isn't that fun. I try so hard, and even though I pretty much always end with some amount of coins, it doesn't feel rewarding. Sometimes I only brought in a single treasure the entire time. Oh look, I'm about to get one. Oh wait, no, I guess not. I guess this game is okay. Everyone has the possibility of leaving with coins, and even though the treasure doesn't repopulate once someone reels it in, it's pretty hard for any characters to strategize against another. Everyone pretty much does their own thing. It's not one of the worst minigames out there, I just don't think it's very fun. It's hindered by the fact that it can't let you do too well in fear of each player leaving with too many coins. I also acknowledge the fact that a lot of people will be much better playing this than I am, so it'll probably be pretty rewarding for them. I'll give the game 3 stars out of 5. It's fine, but unremarkable. There's better than this out there. Oh well, better luck next time. And speaking of next time, we'll be taking a look at Coin Block Bash tomorrow. Will we come out ahead this time or fall further behind? Subscribe and hit the bell to find out with me. Hope to see you then. Hello, and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's game is Coin Block Bash, a 1 vs 3 minigame in which everyone has the possibility of gaining some extra coins. The player with a hammer can press A for an overhead attack or B for a side attack that won't hit the block, but will send any player it hits flying. The rest of the players can hit A to jump or B to attack the player with a hammer, which gives them a chance to grab it. This is a relatively unique 1 vs 3 minigame, in that the player that's on their own might not end the game as the separate player. If the hammer is stolen from them, they become one of the regular players. The player with a hammer also has a huge advantage since they can break blocks with one hit, while it takes 7 or so for the other players. Everyone has a good chance of gaining coins here though. It's not as one-sided as most of the 1 vs 3 minigames are. It's kinda cool. If you're the player that starts with a hammer, I think the best strategy is to just do your own thing and try and stay away from the other players. If they ever go after you, your best defense is to hit them with a sideways swipe to send them flying. If you're a player who doesn't start with a hammer, my advice is to begin the game by trying to get it. You have such an advantage with a hammer that it's worth spending the time to get it. The coins that come out of the block don't go directly to whoever breaks it anyway, so even when you're spending time taking the hammer, you'll have the opportunity to get some coins. So how do I feel about this game? It's okay. I think it's pretty forgettable, but everyone can end up ahead, so that's nice. You have a huge advantage with the hammer, but the risk of someone stealing it evens things out. This game may not stand out above the pack as something special, but it's still okay. I give it 3 stars out of 5, right in the middle. It's one of those games you play and then move on from. So that's it for today's review. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow's review is the similarly named Coin Block Blitz. Boy, these names sure are tongue twisters. What are we in for? Will this be better or worse than Coin Block Bash? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's game is Coin Block Blitz. Yeah, that sounds a lot like yesterday's Coin Block Bash, right? Well, they're actually 2 completely different minigames. No, they're not. I can't back that up. This is just a free-for-all version of Coin Block Bash. Instead of one player having a hammer, everyone is on their own. Each block has a random number of coins in it, and each time a player hits it, they get one. Yep, they took that one tiny mechanic featured in every Mario game and blew it out into a full minigame. At the beginning of the game, everyone pretty much does their own thing. You go for the blocks that are nearest to you and hope that they have a lot of coins in them. The most I've ever gotten out of one block is 21. That's a lot of coins for one minigame. Definitely enough to sway a game of Mario Party in your favor. Some of them have as little as 1 coin though, so you never know. Once there's only a couple of blocks left is when things get a little more interesting. Everyone races to drain the last coins out of the remaining blocks, which results in a lot of jumping on other players' heads. It's hard to tell who's getting what coin since everyone is so close. You just join the fray and hope for the best. After all, everyone's leaving the game ahead. It's pretty much impossible for a game to end with someone not getting any coins. I like this one better than Coin Block Bash, but I'm not quite sure why. I guess it might be because it feels more free. The lack of the hammer makes it much more predictable. Everyone does their own thing for a while and then fights for the last of the remaining coins. Maybe I'm getting soft, but it's nice to play a game where everyone does well. Not all minigames can be like this, but I think it's refreshing every once in a while. When it comes to a ranking, however, I'm not sure how much better this one is than Coin Block Bash. They're both pretty run-of-the-mill to me. I don't hate it, but it doesn't stick with me like a great minigame does. I feel like I have to give this one 3 out of 5 stars as well. I might personally like it better than Coin Block Bash, but it isn't great enough to deserve 4 stars. It hits the same notes as that one, but maybe in a softer way that lets everyone come out of it more equally. So what do you think? Was I fair in this review or did I get it wrong? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Tomorrow's minigame is Coin Shower Flower. Will those showers bring May flowers or will it be the kind of rain that you want to end soon? Subscribe, hit that bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! Today we're reviewing Coin Shower Flower, a 1 vs 3 minigame. One player stands atop a flower and collects as many coins as they can without falling off. Whichever coins they don't catch fall down on the other 3 players who are below the flower in boats. I'm not sure why. The only control anyone has is to move around, so it's not a hard game to learn. If the player on top of the flower falls off though, the game is over. It's not all that hard to avoid falling off if you're the player on the flower. I've definitely gotten close, but the game makes the edges sticky enough that you have to really get overzealous to fall. And even if you do, chances are you've already collected a good amount of coins. This game is extremely favorable to the player on top of the flower. Most games I played had me collecting upwards of 20 coins. A few would end up falling off, but not a whole lot. The other players were only there to collect my scraps. If you're one of the 3 players in a boat, good luck. It's hard to find very much value in this minigame because the chance of you getting more than maybe 3 coins is small. Not only does a player on the flower need to miss the coins, but you have to be in the right spot to collect them as well. It's hard to predict where you should be because even though the flower may be tilted in one direction when you position your boat, the player on top might get all of the coins, leaving you with nothing. And by the time you move to another part where there actually are coins falling, chances are good that another player is already there waiting to catch them in their boat. This is a game that very much guarantees a good payday for the player that's on their own, as long as they use a bit of caution around the edges of the flower. Rating the 1 vs 3 minigames is always a little tougher because the experiences between the two sides can differ so much. This is definitely one of those games. The single player might be wishing for this game to come up, while the other 3 players will just want it to be over with. It's not really a whole lot of fun for the boat players, but it can be fun for the player on the flower, and they can gain a lot of coins. Because it can help out so much, I give this game 3 out of 5 stars. If you're on top of the flower collecting coin after coin, it feels good. Have fun sticking it to the other players. And that's another review down for Mario Party. Did you enjoy watching it? Let me know in the comments, and if you did, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow where we'll review Crane Game. These things never end up well for me in real life. Will this minigame fare any better? We'll find out tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! Today we're reviewing Crane Game. No clever pun in this title. I guess they thought up this one at the end of the day. In this minigame, one player plays as the crane and the other 3 act as prizes. The crane picks their target and tries to carry them all the way to the pipe. If they succeed, the player forfeits a third of their coins to the crane player. Big stakes. No matter which side you're playing on, your goal is to mash the A button as much as you can to either keep your hold on the character or to wriggle your way out of the grasp of the crane player. I don't know about this game. I swear I mash the A button just as furiously every time, but no matter what, I never know what the outcome will be. If I'm the crane player, sometimes it seems like the easiest thing in the world to carry a character to the pipe, and sometimes I don't even manage to pick them up. I'm not sure how the game decides what happens, but I don't get it. Maybe I'm just not very good, I don't know. If you're playing as one of the prizes, have fun. I played several rounds in which I didn't press a single button because the crane player didn't go after me. Not a very exciting minigame. In another, I mashed A as furiously as I could while Yoshi had his way with me, but to no avail. I have no idea how I could have pushed A any more than I did, but I guess I wasn't good enough. Finish. This game is low risk, high reward. The player playing as the crane has nothing to lose and a lot to gain. Go after whatever player has the most coins, and if you manage to snatch them, you're golden. Otherwise, this is pretty boring. It ends as soon as you get something to the pipe or drop what you grabbed. There's not a lot to this minigame, and that's too bad. I feel like the idea of a minigame where 2 of the players will never do absolutely anything isn't very good. Sure, I could see this idea coming up in brainstorming conversations, but I'm hard-pressed to imagine it making it in the game when there had to have been better ideas floating around. But how do I know? Maybe there weren't. Maybe it sounded like a novel idea beforehand. All I know is that this minigame isn't very fun no matter what side you're playing on. You can potentially make out with a large chunk of coins if you're playing as the crane, but the game is so finicky that you never get excited at the prospect of winning. Instead, you keep your hopes low, and if it happens, lucky for you. Otherwise, nobody gets anything and the rest of the Mario Party goes on without another thought given to this minigame. I give this one 2 out of 5 stars. It can even the playing field if circumstances are just right, but it's not really fun at all, and once it's over, it's mostly forgotten about. Oh well. And that wraps up another minigame review. Next up is Crazy Cutter. Will it be a winner, or will it be left on the cutting room floor? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. The game today is Crazy Cutter, and boy, what a game it is. This is a free-for-all minigame in which each player is tasked with carving the outline of an enemy as accurately as possible. Your only control is to move, and anyone scoring 80 points or higher will win. This one is really fun. It's very much what I like about Mario Party and its minigames. It's got a fun premise, there are multiple shapes to carve out which helps keep the minigame a bit fresher, and in its time, it was a great showcase of the control stick's versatility over the D-pad. Mario Party came out fresh off the heels of the Nintendo 64 and the brand new control stick. It's fitting they would try to design games that would only be possible with it. Seriously, can you imagine playing this game with a D-pad? It doesn't sound nearly as fun or as accurate. Moving the control stick just enough to perfectly carve around the curves is so satisfying. Yeah, maybe having to trace out shapes appeals to the preschooler in me, but I like it. Having said that, it's not without its faults. Most prominently is the fact that anyone who scores 80 points or above wins. Why? Why not just make the winner whoever scored the most? 80 points isn't even all that hard to get. I never scored anywhere out of the 90s. I'm not saying there wouldn't be ties this way, but they'd be a lot rarer. Regardless of how easily the game doles out the coins, it's still great fun. It's one of those games that you always hope you land on when it comes up. This is the first one of these I've handed out so far, but I think we finally found our first 5 out of 5 star minigame! The faults in the game are small. It could be slightly improved, but it does so much right as is. Great concept, multiple things to draw, and a showcase for the new technology of the time. Enjoy your 5 stars, Crazy Cutter. You deserve it. Okay, that's all for today's review. Give this one a try because it's a lot of fun. The next minigame is Deep Sea Divers. Will this game earn a Deep Sea review or will I praise it with a high A? Subscribe, hit the bell, and come find out tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today we are joined by the 2 vs 2 minigame Deep Sea Divers. The teammate on the boat is tasked with making sure the boat stays near the diver and reeling them in by rotating the control stick as fast as they can once they have treasure. The diver mashes A to dive and collect treasure. The treasure itself comes in 3 different sizes. At the bottom of the map is one giant treasure chest, and around that are several other treasure chests of smaller sizes. The giant treasure chest is often the one to go for. It takes longer to reel in, but I think the reward is worth it. Even considering that the other team might be able to reel in a couple smaller treasure chests by the time you grab this one, you'll still come out ahead. The only other thing to consider is the amount of air the diver has. If you stay underwater for too long, you'll run out. This is only ever really an issue if you go for the large chest though. All the other chests are small enough and near enough to the surface that you have plenty of time to get them, so the whole mechanic might as well be scrapped. Sure, when going for the biggest chest, the air countdown does begin, but it's never so close to 0 that I think I might not make it. As long as you're mashing on that A button and spinning the control stick, you'll be just fine. There's not a lot else to say about this game. Collect as many coins as you can and be quick. There's not much possibility of a team not getting any coins during the game, so enjoy it. Everyone wins. I give this game 2 stars out of 5. It's pretty boring and generic. I don't completely hate playing it, but it comes and goes without much of a thought. The fact that you can collect a good amount of coins does make it better, but when it's so easy for everyone to collect them, it kind of devalues the whole thing. Everyone will end up ahead, but nobody will end up far ahead. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, come back for my next review of Desert Dash. I hope this one is closer to a dessert and less on the side of a desert when it comes to fun minigames, but who knows? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Have you ever wanted to take a pair of skis out to the middle of the desert and ride them through the sand with a partner? Well, if so, Desert Dash is your game. You're gonna love it. 5 out of 5. However, I've never gotten the particular urge to do that, so my score might not be as good. Desert Dash is a 2 vs 2 game where you and a partner are tasked with flicking the control stick left and right in time with each other to move yourselves forward. If you get off time or mess up, you'll be stuck for a few moments while you regain composure. The first team to cross the finish line wins. It's a pretty simple concept with the only obstacle to consider being a thwomp that will come down and smash any team that's beneath it. I never got smashed by it, but I did have to time it with my partner to stop moving when we felt it was about to come down. Use this to your strategic advantage because if one team passes it while another gets stuck behind it, it's pretty much game over for them. This game is more satisfying than you'd originally think. Maybe it's because I'm a musician and I like keeping time, but getting into a good rhythm with your partner is very gratifying. We found it worked well to say left and right out loud to help stay on beat. It's funny playing with 4 people and hearing everyone shouting left, right, especially when an opposing player starts listening to your team and accidentally screws things up with their partner. I wasn't too excited for this game going in. It's not one that I strongly remember, and it's still not one of my top favorites, but it is fun. To me, it elevates above the level of a lot of other Mario Party minigames that come and go, and provides a good amount of entertainment along the way. I'm giving it 4 stars out of 5. It barely squeaked in there though. I considered going lower with it, but when I put it up against some other games I've rated 3 out of 5 like Bombs Away, Bombsketball, and Castaways, I definitely had more fun playing this one. So that's it for Desert Dash. I feel like it might be a love it or hate it game for most people. I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks. I'll be in the comments to find out. And if you enjoyed this review, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow to play Facelift. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. I remember when I first got my Nintendo 64. It was Christmas morning. I opened it up along with Super Mario 64 and excitedly set it up to play. Mario blew my mind, but before I even got to the main game, it had already given me something I had never seen before. The game starts up, the music starts, and Mario's face pops up with a "Hello!" I sat there for so long playing with his face and distorting it in weird ways. It was something so simple yet so fun. Facelift is just like that, except with Bowser's face instead of Mario's. Your task is to pull and scrunch his face to match the image given to you at the beginning of the game. Whoever is most accurate at the end wins. It's a simple yet great concept. And not only is it a lot of fun to play, it's also really funny. Looking around the screen at the other players to see all the weird states of Bowser's face is hilarious. I've never met a person who doesn't enjoy this game. It also has one of the things I love most in a Mario Party minigame, randomization. You never know what to expect out of the example. Sometimes you're pushing his eyebrows in and down, sometimes you're pulling them out and up. Maybe instead of a facelift, you're giving him severe signs of aging by pulling his cheeks all the way down. There's a lot of possibilities here, and it keeps it really fresh. Between that and the laughter between players, this one is always a winner. I can't think of many ways to improve on this game either. If I had to stretch for an idea, I would say to maybe not make both sides of the example symmetrical. As it is right now, if you pull one eyebrow out, you'll pull the other out as well. But maybe the game could make it so that you have to pull the left eyebrow up and then the right one down or something. Again though, I'm really stretching to find something to improve on. That doesn't really hinder the fun factor of this game in any meaningful way to me. This game is a winner all around. When you're going into a minigame and see this on the roulette of possible options, it's one that everyone immediately hopes it lands on. If all the minigames were this great, Mario Party would be one of the best games of all time. I give this one an easy 5 out of 5 stars. Great game, go play it now. I hope you enjoyed hearing me reminisce about the Nintendo 64 and reviewing Facelift. The next minigame is Ghost Guess. I won't even try and guess what score I give it. Okay, that one was bad. I need to know when to play it straight. If you're not sick of my stupid puns, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow and join me in reviewing Ghost Guess. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. I love spooky stuff. Anything that deals with things like the paranormal, aliens, or cryptozoology is always interesting to me. That's why when I see a minigame that takes place in a creepy cave in the middle of a tiny replica of Stonehenge with a dancing circle of ghosts, I get excited. The setting is right up my alley. The name is Ghost Guess, and your mission in this single-player game is to figure out which Boo is the leader. The way you do this is by watching which one everyone else mimics. If you find the first to move, you found the leader. The easiest way to figure out who's moving first, as the hint during the instructions indicates, is by watching their shadows. When all the shadows are side by side against the wall, it's a little easier to tell where the earliest movement is coming from. Once you know the trick, it's a game of patience. Give your eyes a minute to see every Boo in the circle. Make a couple guesses on which one seems like it's moving soonest, and then follow it to prove your hypothesis right or wrong. If you play it cool and don't try going too quick, you can win this game pretty regularly. That's not to say it isn't fun. Just because you can figure out which Boo is the leader most times, doesn't mean it takes no skill. It still takes time and observation to figure out, and that's where most of the fun lies. If trying to deduce minor changes doesn't seem like fun to you, you probably won't like this minigame. But if you're into that sort of thing, this one is good. I'm torn on what score to give this game. I don't dislike it. It's sort of fun figuring out who the leader is. It doesn't really stand out to me beyond the visuals, but that's more or less a personal preference. I do wonder why the designers decided to set it in a cave with a mock replica of Stonehenge though. I guess they were just trying to put in as much mysterious stuff as they could. But once the game ends, I don't think about it much. Maybe it's because it's a single player game and a video game that's about the group experience. It has its place, but it's hard to stand out without the randomness of 4 players. So I think I'm going to give this minigame 3 stars out of 5. It's good for what it is, but it's hard to excel when you're hindered by playing alone. I don't mind playing a single player minigame occasionally, but I don't ever remember a time where it's been a highlight of Mario Party for me. Thanks for watching this review, and if you liked being here, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow where we'll be talking about Grab Bag. Cross your fingers it gives us something good. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello, and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Close your eyes for a minute. Think back to, 2 or 3 weeks ago during our second review together. It was a game called Bash and Cash. Think about the setting. The background taking place outside of a castle. Characters all running around trying to steal as many coins as they could. Now open your eyes. What do you see? Okay, so it's not entirely the same, but it's pretty close. This is just a free-for-all version of what Bash and Cash was. Instead of one player running away from 3 others with hammers who would steal their coins, in this one, everyone steals coins from everyone. To do that, you'll need to run up behind another player and mash the B button to loot some coins out of their bag. Depending on how hard you mash the buttons, you'll get 0, 1, or 5 coins from them. The person that's getting coins stolen can also mash B to prevent you from stealing coins, which is how you can have times where you aren't able to steal any coins. And that's the game. You can jump to get out of harm's way, but other than that, it's a game of steal without being stolen from. This is another one of those games that can really even the playing field in a game of Mario Party. If there's one player that is pulled out ahead of the other 3, it can become a 1 versus 3 minigame with everyone trying to pull them back down to their level. That's what makes this game. On its own, I don't really care for it a whole lot. Button mashers are kind of annoying to play. This one is particularly annoying because I don't get how it determines how many coins are taken from you. There were times recording this where I accidentally hit the A button instead of B and only got 1 coin stolen. And there were other times where I was mashing B as hard as I could and got 5 stolen. What gives? Was the other person just not putting their heart into it when they only got 1 coin? Were they pity looting me? I don't know. I'm sure there's some reason behind it, but I couldn't figure it out. It also seemed like the hitboxes were a bit finicky. There were times when I would swear I was right behind a person when I mashed B, but I would miss them and then get my coin stolen by them a moment later. It was frustrating enough to where I was getting annoyed at having to play this one again. That's not good in a video game built around repetition. This is a tough one to judge. It's nice that you have the ability to level the playing field by stealing coins from people who are doing better than you, but on the same token, you can get just as many coins stolen from you, so nothing might end up changing. I guess I'm more in love with the idea of evening the playing field than I am with the minigame itself. I have to give it 2 stars out of 5. It can somewhat redeem itself if you happen to do well in it, but it's not very fun to play. Once it's over, no matter how well I've done, I let out a sigh of relief, and so does my hand. Okay, that's it for today's review. Our next minigame is Ground Pound, an entire minigame named after a move. It's like making a minigame called Crouch. Hopefully it's more inventive than the name implies, but we'll find out tomorrow. Subscribe and hit that bell to join me. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Did you know that early on in Mario's history, before he was a plumber, he was actually a carpenter? That's right. The original Donkey Kong took place on a construction site, so his backstory was that he was a carpenter. Later on, when Mario Bros. Was made, his job was changed to plumber since the game was based around pipes. And now here we are again, Mario working with wood. But he's not carpenting wood this time. Instead, he has something against flat-cut posts and has to pound them into the ground so that only the dangerous, sharp, pointy ones are left sticking out. The game is Ground Pound. It's a single-player minigame in which you have to pound the flat posts into the ground before time runs out. If you hit one of the pointy ones, you'll be stunned for a few seconds before you're able to get up. When the game begins, you'll have a bit of time to see which ones are flat and which are pointy. There are always 5 flat ones and 7 pointy ones. After a few moments, butterflies perch themselves onto every post, but fear not, you can still partially see what kind of posts they're hiding below them. And unfortunately, that makes this game really easy to win. There's only 12 posts total and plenty of time on the timer to make a few mistakes without losing. So really, it's a matter of going through the motions to finish the game. I can't imagine you'll lose this one a whole lot, so if you're the one playing, this is your lucky day because you're about to make out with some coins. This one really should have been harder. An easy way to do this would have been to not let you see the posts below the butterflies. They also could have made you lose if you hit one of the pointy posts. Another way to make it harder would be to have 16 posts instead of 12. Even having you still find 5 posts would be made harder by the fact that they would be more spread out. With 12 posts, there's usually 3 or so right next to each other, which makes it easy to create a pattern in your brain of where to go. It's harder to create a pattern when things are more spread out. These single-player minigames are all slightly limited by the fact that they're single-player. They're almost all some sort of memorization type game. There's not much room for spontaneous fun in them. The challenge is also more limited when you're not playing against other humans, and the only skill is based on how great your brain is. Luckily for me, mine is one of the best, so I almost always win these. But I never have a whole lot of fun doing it. I give this one 2 stars out of 5. It's a basic game of memorization that never amounts to anything more, and it's a relatively easy one at that. Well, that does it for today's review. Next up is Hammer Drop. Will it be a game worthy of a mic drop, or will it drop like a ton of bricks? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Like most people, I too wish I had more money. I like to imagine where I'd be and the things I'd be able to accomplish if I had even a little bit more. Sometimes I dream that money is falling from the sky and everyone is standing outside collecting as much as they can. Then a hammer falls on my head and I wake up. Well, here's a minigame that can finally make my dreams come true, including the hammers. You're all stuck on top of a tower so tall it rises above the clouds as you try and collect coins from the hammer bro throwing them down at you. But watch out for the hammers. If you get hit by one, you'll be stunned for a few seconds, and if you're near the edge of the tower when you get hit, you might fall off. Other than that, this is a free-for-all coin collecting minigame, so there are no losers. Everyone has the potential to come out ahead.
Finish!
It's always exciting when you're behind in the game and this type of minigame comes up. Dollar signs flash in front of your eyes as you imagine getting back on top and having enough coins to steal a star from the player in first. But this minigame isn't that great. Everyone piles up to get every coin, so it's hard to even tell if you're getting any. It makes for a really unsatisfying minigame. Without that dopamine hit of knowing that you got something, you just kind of go through it waiting for it to get over. Once you get to the results screen, you look at it, see how many coins you got, and go, before moving on. Free money is always nice, but you don't get a huge amount in this game, so the scales are never going to tip in anyone's favor all that severely. It's unrewarding all around. I wish this game was better, but it's not. Jump around until time is up and see how well you did. That's what it comes down to. I give it 2 stars out of 5. At least everyone has a chance of getting some extra coins, but the process of getting them isn't fun. Get through this one and move on to the next. And so ends another Mario Party minigame review. Next, we'll be discussing Handcar Havoc. Hopefully the Havoc in this one is more fulfilling than the Havoc in Hammer Drop. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Handcars are something I have no experience with outside of popular media. Scooby-Doo had it, this has it, and a lot of other things do too, but I've never seen one in real life. For something that has been phased out of modern society so thoroughly, they still hold quite a solid spot in media. For some reason, despite how many technologies have come and gone, handcars have lived on. Why is that? I have no idea. Handcar Havoc is a 2 vs 2 minigame where you have to mash the A button as quickly as possible to ensure your handcar reaches the goal first. You can also tilt the control stick against the tilt of the cart to ensure you stay on the track. If you don't do this, there's a good chance you'll fall off the track and lose the race. This game is another button masher at heart. It may introduce an extra mechanic in asking you to tilt your handcar back and forth, but button mashing is your main task, and that just isn't that fun. It turns this into a game you only want to get over with. You know it'll be an endurance run, and you prepare yourself for it, but you never look forward to it. Nobody goes into a minigame hoping they'll have to mindlessly mash on a button. They're rarely worth it. I don't have much to say about this game beyond that. I understand why the developers would have thought to include button masher minigames in the first Mario Party, because they were still learning what worked, but it turns out they're not fun. I have to imagine that they weren't fun during development either, so my only thought is that they must have included games like this because they were easy ideas. The issue is that the content isn't good. It's like eating salad before a pizza. You really just want pizza. It's the same here. Not all game mechanics are fun. I give this minigame 2 stars out of 5. Button mashers aren't that fun. I hope to find one that proves me wrong, but this one didn't. You race to the end and see who mashed the button the fastest. A minigame shouldn't leave the players happier when it's over like this one does. Better luck next time. Our game tomorrow will be Hot Bomb. I hope this game is as hot as the name suggests, because I can't take 2 bad minigames in a row. Will it live up to my desire? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
New record. Yellow.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Hot Potato is a game that, as far as anyone knows, may have origins as far back as the late 1800s. For a game to have such a long legacy, surely it must be a classic. Hot Potato is a simple concept in which a small object, say a potato perhaps, is passed from person to person in a group, and whoever is stuck holding it when the music ends loses. Simple concept. But it's one that has lasted well over 100 years, and that didn't go unnoticed by the developers of Mario Party. Realizing they needed some tried and true formulas for minigames in between the button mashers, they looked to some ageless games of yore. Hot Bomb takes the concept of Hot Potato and ramps it up just a notch by using a bomb instead of a potato. Whoever is holding it when it explodes dies. Like I said, ramps it up just a notch. This game is a free-for-all battle minigame. That means that whoever loses has to give the other 3 players 5 coins. Having your own money at stake really ups the intensity of the game. If it was a regular minigame where the only risk of losing was not gaining any coins, you wouldn't have that anxiety to win. But since you actually might make out worse in this game, it ups the ante considerably. Like I said, this game is a simple concept. You can throw the bomb to anyone in the circle. You can also hold on to it for a while if you're confident it won't go off in your hands. The bomb will pulse throughout the game before it explodes, and I found that it generally lasts around 10 to 12 pulses before going off. Use that information as you will. But just because the concept is simple doesn't mean it isn't fun. Having coins at stake make the game more and more tense as it goes along, and that's really fun. I almost feel like the game may have been more fun if there was only one winner. Every time the bomb exploded, that person would be out and the rest would continue. Whoever was left at the end would get 5 coins from each of the other players. Surely that would raise the tension even more to be one of the final 2 players, trying to decide how long to hold the bomb and when to throw it. But the way it works now is fine too. Other than the tension from not wanting to lose your coins, the game doesn't hold many other surprises. You know exactly what you're getting into with this one. That's not a bad thing in this case, but it also doesn't require skill and fun game mechanics in the way something like Bumper Balls or Crazy Cutter does. It's doing its own thing though, and there's definitely space for it in a game like Mario Party. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. The actual gameplay itself isn't the most exciting of any minigame, but the tension makes up for it. Okay, that's all for today's review. The next review will be another game to raise the temperature, Hot Rope Jump. Man, these people really know how to throw some crazy parties. I've never been to a party where you stayed until someone died. If you want to see what I think of Hot Rope Jump, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow. Hope to see you then.
Finish. Yellow.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Yesterday we discussed Mario Party taking an extremely old game and updating it with more depth in Hot Bomb. Well, today they're back with more of that formula in Hot Rope Jump. This is our sadistic take on jumping rope. In this version, the jump rope is made of potaboo flames. Every player has to survive 20 jumps of the rope without getting hit. If everyone survives, you all get 10 coins. But if even one person doesn't jump in time, the game is over and that player will lose coins. Everyone else gets 5 coins. Okay, let's just get into what everyone is thinking. This game would be so much better if it didn't end after 20 jumps. Just let everyone go until there's only one winner. You know that's the logical way to do it. It's so unrewarding to jump 20 times and have the game end because everyone survived. Everyone's left there wanting more, and not in a good way. The jump rope gets faster the more jumps everyone takes. Tell me it wouldn't be hilariously tense for it to get down to 2 people both trying to survive jumps that are getting faster and faster. That's the kind of minigame that would be fun to play. This feels poorly executed, and I'm not really sure why they chose to go this route. I get that by limiting it to 20 jumps, it provides the opportunity for everyone to win. I also get that there could be fun situations where everyone starts yelling at the one person who didn't jump in time and ruined it for everyone. But the difference between 5 and 10 coins isn't that large, so honestly, it doesn't make that big of a difference if everyone survives or not. This is a minigame that I would hands down rather play as a classic minigame, with 10 coins going to the winner and the rest of the players getting nothing. It pains me to do it, but I'm giving this game 2 stars out of 5. Jumping rope here is fun, but it's cut way too short and you're left wondering why you can't keep going. It ends before it has any chance to get good. This is a prime example of a game full of potential but with flawed execution. I could easily see this getting 4, if not 5 stars if played until only one person was left. Maybe next time. Okay, that does it for today. Come back tomorrow to see the review of Keep Away. Keep Away. What an odd name. There has to be a better pun in there somewhere. I'll figure out a better one for you. If you want to see what I come up with, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned for tomorrow's vid. Hope to see you then.
Miss.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. At the end of yesterday's review of Hot Rope Jump, I promised you that I'd come up with a better pun name for this game than Keep Away. Unfortunately, I didn't. Now you know better than to trust me anymore. Let this be a warning to you. Okay, on to the game. Keep Away is a magnificently titled minigame, and the third in a line of minigames adapted from timeless real-life activities. But instead of keeping a ball away from someone, your goal here is to get the key to the lock before the Spike Koopas get it. If they do, the game ends. Alternatively, if the timer runs out before the key gets to the lock, every player loses 5 coins. After playing this a bunch, I can't imagine this happening all that often though. You're able to jump with A and pass with B, but that's the entire moveset. There's no punching away the Spike Koopas, but you'll be fine without it. This game is okay. It reminds me a lot of Bombsketball. Get the object and take it to the goal. The difference is that everyone is playing together here instead of on teams of 2. It slightly lessens the appeal of the game when everyone gets coins though. If everyone has an extra 10 coins, the game of Mario Party goes on as equal as it was before you played this minigame. I guess it could help someone reach the amount they need for a star or something, but that won't happen every time. I think that's one of the reasons why this game is so meh to me. Not only are the stakes relatively lessened compared to other minigames, but it's also not the funnest minigame. The controls are kinda mushy. There's a lag in your movements which makes it less fun to play than it should be. It's also pretty easy to get the key in the lock. There were times when a bad pass led to nobody having the key, and the Spike Koopas still didn't get it. You can also jump on their heads to get around them, so it's easy to beeline to the lock and not worry about passing at all. This one is getting 2 out of 5 stars from me. It's really too bad they didn't figure out the key to unlocking this game's full potential. Hey, that's kind of a pun, right? Don't say I didn't try. Sluggish controls, low stakes, and easy gameplay make this one a loser, but at least you're all but guaranteed an extra 10 coins. Join me tomorrow for our next minigame review. The game will be Knock Block Tower, and here's to hoping it towers over this game because I need a fun one to play. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow for another one. Hope to see you then.
Finish.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today we're reviewing Knock Block Tower. What an aptly named game. There are blocks. They are stacked in a tower, and if you hit them, they will knock you. I couldn't ask for anything more from a name. But how about the game itself? Knock Block Tower is a single player game. Your goal is to punch away the crates so that you can reach the treasure chest at the top. The trick is in not hitting the thwomps, because if you do, it's game over for you. It's a little trickier than it sounds because of the fact that the thwomps go up and down, so be sure to time your attacks with that in mind. I'm surprised at my feelings towards this game. A lot of the single player games in Mario Party aren't the greatest. There's less challenge when you aren't up against 3 other players, and a lot of them are takes on simple memory games. But this one manages to be pretty fun. I lost more times than I thought I would because with a timer that's so short, it's tempting to want to go fast. And a single mistake is enough to knock you out of the game. But I like that. The fact that there's actual gameplay involved makes this refreshing for a single player minigame. You might not be competing against other players, but you're competing against yourself. And if you lose, you're the only one to blame. I never felt like the mechanics or controls got in the way of this one. You jump and you punch and you try to win. Sometimes you make it, and sometimes you make a stupid mistake that you end up hitting yourself over, but it was your fault you lost. Nothing else gets in the way of this one. There's no 3 against 1 or players ganging up on you because you're ahead. If you lose, it's only you. That's the way to make a single player minigame fun. It's a lot better than something built around simple memorization. I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I don't necessarily look forward to playing it or hope it comes up, but it's enjoyable when it does. And the reward of earning 10 coins entirely on your own merit feels good. I hope there are more single player games of this caliber coming up. Okay, that's it for today. Tomorrow's review will be Limbo Dance, and wouldn't you know it, it's another single player minigame. Will it stand up to Knock Block Tower as a great single player experience, or will it fall to the level of Ground Pound? Subscribe, hit the bell, and find out with me tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. I'll be reviewing Limbo Dance today, a single player minigame where you must limbo under several poles and make it to the goal without running out of time or falling over. Every time you hit the A button, you will hop forward and lean a little further back. So the trick is making sure you're leaning far enough back to hop under the next limbo stick, but not so far that you fall over. There are 3 pole heights you'll have to limbo under, so forward thinking definitely comes into play. Even if a pole that's relatively high up is next, you probably want to stay leaning pretty far back if the one after that is really low. There are only a couple steps in between each limbo pole to lean further back, so you won't always have time to lean as far back as you need to if you straighten out too much. This game is pretty fun. It's single player, but there is skill that goes into playing it. There were times I lost because I let myself straighten out too much and then didn't have time to lean back again before a low pole. It becomes a game of managing your lean and determining whether you can afford to lean forward a bit or if you're going to risk staying leaned far back. Having an indicator for when you're about to fall helps though. Mario will start to lose his balance and squirm a bit, which is your cue to straighten up. The game is challenging in a fun but fair way. I've enjoyed games with multiple players way less than this one, which always surprises me. Maybe these single player games aren't as bad as I've always felt they are. If there's skill involved and if the concept is solid, these can be enjoyable in their own way. I'm going to go ahead and give this game 4 stars out of 5. Again, I don't think I ever look forward to a single player game coming up, but at least this one is fun to play. Honestly, it might be one that you hope doesn't get picked, just because your chances of winning are probably less than they are in a lot of other single player games. I suppose it can be seen as a drawback, but I think it's good to have a little challenge when there are no other players to provide the challenge for you. Okay, that wraps up another day and another review. But don't worry, we're just over the halfway mark of Mario Party minigames, so there's plenty more to come. Tomorrow we'll be back to a free-for-all minigame with Mario Bandstand. If you want to see if it hits all the right notes or falls flat, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow for the full review. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today we're playing Mario Bandstand. A slightly odd name considering that Mario only features in it if someone chooses to play as him like I always do, but I get what they were going for. This is a free-for-all minigame in which 3 of the players play an instrument and the 4th conducts. Unlike what you might think going into it, this isn't a 1 versus 3 minigame. Every player is randomly given a job and they're all on equal footing. Regardless of what you're doing, your job is to hit the A button in time with the music if you're a musician, or move the control stick in the direction indicated on screen if you're the conductor. After 3 rounds, whoever was the most accurate wins the minigame. A little something you should know about me is that I like music. I'm a musician when I'm not playing Mario Party, so music games always hold a warm spot in my heart. It's not to say I love them all though. This game, for example, is just alright. You could play it with the sound off if you wanted to. All you have to do is follow along with your designated instrument on the screen and hit the button when a picture of it comes along. There's no tricky timing and it's not fast at all. I think most of the challenge comes from being better than everyone else. It's easy to tie with other players if everyone hits their button every time they should. That's not really always the most fun. In a game with so little challenge, it gets boring and starts feeling drawn out. It's not that long. No minigame really is, but it sure feels long when you're not having fun. Maybe other people will have different experiences with it, but nobody I know had many struggles playing it. It really comes down to someone being late on one note and ending up blowing their chance of winning because of it. When it's so easy, every note counts. Is that challenge? Maybe in a sense, but it doesn't make the minigame any more fun. This game is a prime example of a middle-of-the-pack, forgettable minigame. It does nothing exceptionally well, but it's also so plain that it doesn't have any glaring issues. The challenge might not be high enough, but when you're building a game for all audiences, you can't be too tough in the minigames or it won't be fun for a whole lot of people. So there's no good way to fix this one. I give it 3 stars out of 5. I never want to play it, but there are games where I honestly groan when they come up. This isn't that bad. I just don't think about it much one way or the other, and that's never a good sign when you're playing a game. Hopefully tomorrow's review is better. I'm keeping my hopes in check though because we're coming up on a single-player minigame called Memory Match, so just based on the name I feel like I know exactly what we're in store for. But who knows? I'm not going in with any preconceived notions until I review it. If you want to see how I end up feeling about it, it'll be up tomorrow like the reviews always are. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Do you remember as a kid when you would flip over a deck of cards and try and find a pair of matches? Well, what if I told you you could have that same experience in Mario Party, but with only 4 matches to find? Sounds pretty great, right? That's what I thought you would say. Join me for today's review of Memory Match. Like I said before, Memory Match is a single-player minigame that tasks you with finding the 4 matches among 9 squares. So what's a 9th square, you ask? It's a Bowser square that will paralyze you for a few seconds. Find the 4 matches before time runs out and 10 coins are yours. If you don't find all 4 matches before time runs out, you'll still get 2 coins for every match you do find. So you'll come out ahead every time unless you're really bad at remembering things. Honestly, I had low expectations for this game coming into it, but it turned out to be better than I thought. The time limit is pretty low, so to find all the matches you really have to hustle. You have time to land on the Bowser space once and still turn everything else over, but any further mistakes will probably cost you. The game doesn't necessarily make it hard to remember everything, but there is challenge in getting through everything in time. That makes this more fun than it could have been. This could have been a game with a pointer to point to whatever cards you wanted to flip over, but by making you run around and ground pound to flip the blocks over, there's an added level of gameplay involved. Some may see this as extraneous gameplay that doesn't need to be there, but I think it adds to the fun. I was pleasantly surprised. At its core, this is nothing but a single-player flip-and-match minigame, but the short timer and paralyzing Bowser space make it a little tense and challenging to complete, which ups the enjoyment level somewhat. I'm struggling to decide what to give this one, but I think I'll give it 3 out of 5 stars. No, you're not going to hope for it to come up, but you won't hate when it does. You'll play through it, get your coins, and move on. It's fun enough while you're playing though. Okay, come back tomorrow for the review of Mushroom Mix-Up. Will this mix up the formula from today and bring some more fun to the table? Or will the mix be another plain formula? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Some of my favorite minigames end up being the ones with the simplest concepts. That's the great thing about these games. You don't have to have deep controls and long play times to make something great. You can keep a simple idea without convoluting it with a bunch of unnecessary elements. The fun comes from the hijinks of players trying to get the upper hand on each other. Today's minigame is the perfect example of these ideals. It's called Mushroom Mix-Up, and the idea is simple: be the last one standing. You do this by jumping onto the mushroom that matches the color flag Toad holds up. You can also jump and ground pound, which is where the hijinks come into play. Ground pounding another player makes them immobile for a few seconds. Timing this right can cost them the game. Jumping on someone's head also causes a lot of fun issues because it makes the other players sort of springboards for you. You can control it, but it leads to a lot of precarious situations where you try and jump onto a mushroom, hit someone's head, and end up falling off the other side. It's so funny to see someone try and screw over another player, but instead screw themselves over. This is definitely one of those party games with a ton of laughs, and I love it. A lot of Mario Party minigames have controls that aren't tight enough or are too finicky, which makes them frustrating and unrewarding to play. This one controls pretty well, and any issues with the controls work in its favor by making the game more hilarious. It's one of those games where you legitimately feel disappointed when you lose early on, because you don't get to play more of it. The best minigames will do that to you. Like I've said several times in earlier reviews, there are certain minigames that everyone hopes to come up. Mushroom Mix-Up is definitely one of those games. It's fun to play, hilarious to experience, and leaves you wanting more when it's over, even when you lose. That's why it's so easy for me to give this one 5 out of 5 stars. There's nothing in it that I feel could be seriously improved upon. It's fun every time, and although there is a certain amount of skill involved, it's one that anyone can play and win. Even when you don't win 10 coins at the end, you're still glad you played, and that's what makes it such a great minigame. I'm glad we had another 5-star game today. It's always a treat when they come up, and it keeps me playing these minigames. But will tomorrow's minigame be in the same league? The name is Musical Mushroom. Will that game about mushrooms be as good as this one, or will they taste as gross as mushrooms do in real life? Don't try and change my mind on this one. Mushrooms are disgusting. Subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today is the 32nd Mario Party minigame I've reviewed. That's quite a few reviews already, so let me refresh you on a few of those games. There was Hot Ba-Bomb. There was Hot Rope Jump. Not too long ago was Limbo Dance. And just a couple days ago, there was Memory Match. What do all these games have in common? They're all takes on classic games people have been playing since well before video games were even a thing. Sometimes that's fun. Hot Ba-Bomb is great. Just because a concept is old doesn't mean it's bad. But sometimes they're not so fun. Hot Rope Jump could have been an all-time great, but it was held back by poor execution.
Finish!
That brings me to today's minigame, Musical Mushroom. As you may have guessed, this is another minigame that takes a classic game, mixes it around with Mario Party, and sees what happens. This one is based on musical chairs, of course, and it's basically the same thing. It's a free-for-all minigame in which your character walks around a circle of mushrooms until the music stops. When it does, the first player to run to the middle and hit the treasure chest wins 10 coins. You have the ability to punch other players as well as ground pound, but I've never used them. Because everyone starts evenly spaced around the mushroom circle, and because the game automatically moves you while the music is playing, by the time it stops, it's a mad dash for the treasure chest. There's not really much time for punching or ground pounding. I suppose you could do it when you're on the center mushroom, but there's still not a whole lot of time. I usually only have time to make 1 or maybe 2 jumps at the treasure chest before someone else gets it. Trying to attack just seems too risky for me. Something that's annoying about this one are the smaller mushrooms around the center one. I feel like anytime the music stops while I'm behind one, I don't have time to make it to the treasure chest before someone else does. You either have to walk around it or jump on it on your way to the middle, and this is very much a minigame in which every second counts.
Finish!
It could be that I'm not very good at this one, but I really do feel like it hinders you to be behind one.
Start!
All in all, I don't really care for this game too much. It's pretty short and forgettable, most of the controls don't matter, and I feel like getting the treasure chest is kind of a crapshoot. The game usually ends with multiple players on the center mushroom all frantically jumping to hit the chest until someone finally does. And it's hard to tell who got it until the windscreen comes up because the depth perception is a little wonky up there. I'm going to give this one 2 stars out of 5. I considered giving it 3 because it's so blah, but I think that the annoying and confusing things about it take it down a notch from being just another generic minigame. This one is forgettable and annoying. So that's all for Musical Mushroom. I can't say I'm wanting to play this one some more. Give me more Mushroom Mix-Up instead. Or maybe I'll like tomorrow's minigame. It's called Paddle Battle, and if you don't know about this game, I'll give you a little history lesson on perhaps the most infamous game of the Mario Party series. Subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow to hear all about it. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Who thought this concept was a good idea? If you remember Castaways or Deep Sea Divers, you'll remember that an element of those minigames was rotating the control stick as quick as possible. This game takes that concept and makes it worse, so much worse. In those ones, rotating the control stick was just an element of the game that you didn't have to do from start to finish. This amps it up a notch by making it the only thing you have to do. There's no strategy, there's no resting, only spinning. Like being a hamster on the wheel of society. This minigame and the others like it actually led to a lawsuit against Nintendo after Mario Party came out. They were ordered to send out gloves to anyone with the game who requested it. The gloves had no Nintendo branding of any sort on them, probably to prevent people from feeling like they had to get them. And as far as I could see online, they were just regular fingerless gloves. Apparently to get them you had to send proof of purchase as well as an outline of your hand, which I think is hilarious. I'm not sure if they wanted the outlines to know which size to send or what, but I feel like giving the option of sizes would have done the job just as well. Seriously though, I hate this game. You're pretty much forced to use the palm of your hand to rotate the control stick if you want to do well, and that means getting second-degree burns. Do you want to win? Is it worth physical pain? Well, buck up, kiddo, because this is Mario Party. It's not just your character dying in the minigames, it's you. Like I said, there's no strategy to it at all. It's a 1 versus 3 minigame, so there's 1 person on one side of the raft and 3 on the other. The harder your side paddles, the more the boat goes to the other side of the river where shy guys on the shore wait to stab your money out of you. You're playing for the coins you already have, so if the single player gets poked, the 3 other characters each get a coin from them, and if the 3 characters get poked, the single player gets a coin from each of them. So there's good money to be made here. The more you hurt yourself, the richer you can get. The only question becomes how sadistic you are and how much you love money. It forces everyone to try and spin the control stick maniacally out of fear of losing their money. You start rotating the control stick faster and faster with your palm, trying to stay away from the edge, which makes the other side rotate faster as well, which in turn causes your side to compensate by rotating even faster. It's a never-ending cycle of torture and defeat. I mean, it does eventually end, but it never ends well. Well, it can end well if you came out with more coins, but still, your palm hurts, so... Again, I hate this game. It's not a fun concept and it literally hurts to play. I wish it was never included in Mario Party, and whoever decided it was a fun minigame to throw in is sadistic and twisted. This one is getting my very first ever 1 star out of 5. Don't play this one. If it ever comes up in a Mario Party game, make a pact as a group to put your controllers down, have a snack, and leave the minigame as equal as you went in. It's the only way to beat it. You can't let it win. Okay, come back tomorrow for another awesome Mario Party minigame. We're done with Paddle Battle, and as much as it sucked playing this game for review, it's over now. I may have disliked some of the minigames I've played before, but even a bad game like Buried Treasure is preferable to this. At least I know that whatever I play tomorrow won't be as bad as Paddle Battle. If you need a taste of what a better minigame is, subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow when we'll surely find out with Pedal Power. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Okay, that's it. I'm done. I don't want to play Mario Party anymore. It finally broke me. I thought I could do it. I thought playing the good games like Facelift or Crazy Cutter or even Bumper Balls would make it all worth it, but I can't. I'm done. Yesterday I went through literal physical torture to review the worst game of the series so far, Paddle Battle. I left thinking that no matter what I played today, at least it wouldn't pay me to do it. But I was wrong.
Miss.
I was so wrong. Those sadistic little punishers at Hudson Soft enjoyed the thought of burning your palms so much that they felt the need to do it again. The only thing different about Pedal Power besides the setting is that now it's a single player game. Not that that changes the gameplay at all. Other than that, it's exactly the same. Rotate the control stick as fast as you can until you either win or lose. Here's a hint though, there is no winning. In this one, a boo is chasing you and to scare it away, you have to use a bicycle to power up a giant light bulb. If you make it bright enough before the boo reaches you, you win. If not, you lose. Going into this, I tried to be reasonable. I started to think that there is no way someone would develop a game where you had to hurt yourself to win. In Paddle Battle, you're playing against other people, so it's only natural to use a technique that will get you the best results. But in a single player game where you're only playing against the computer, I thought maybe the speed in which you had to rotate the control stick would be slow enough to allow you to use other methods. However, I tried to beat this one several times without using the palm of my hand, but I couldn't. I don't think it's possible. When you're playing the minigame and trying to win so you don't miss out on 10 coins, you're going to use the method with the highest chance of helping you win. And unfortunately, that's by using your palm. And you actually lose 5 coins if you lose this game, so the stakes are even higher. It sucks. I don't want to play Paddle Battle, and I don't want to play this one either. At least in Paddle Battle, you have the possibility of stealing coins away from other players. In this one, you don't even get that. It gets 1 star out of 5. I'd give it less if I could, which I can because I set the grading scale, but I'm not going to because I don't want some dumb minigame like this skewing the stats. It gets the lowest score I want to give, which is 1, but it doesn't deserve it. It deserves nothing. I'm not joking when I say I burnt my palm playing this. When getting footage of it, I had to stop and put a sock over my hand to try and cut down on the friction, but I don't think it helped much. My palm was dark red and it burned whenever I would squeeze it. I should have taken a picture of it. It took like 5 days to go away. Granted, I played Paddle Battle and this one back to back numerous times, but there should never be any risk of self-harm when playing a video game. That's insane. Okay, that's it for today. I swear, if tomorrow's minigame has me burning my palm on the control stick again, it'll be my last review. I'm not even kidding this time. Tomorrow's minigame is Pipe Maze and it better be amazing. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow if you want to hear about it. Hope to see you then.
Miss.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is Pipe Maze. It's a simple 1 versus 3 game in which one player tries to guide the treasure chest through the pipes to where they're standing. To do this, you'll have to have a keen eye though because the pipe is full of turns. At the beginning of the game, the camera will scroll up from the players and you'll need to try and watch the route the treasure chest will have to take to reach you. Anytime the chest comes upon a turn, it'll take it. And when I say you'll need a keen eye, I mean keen. That camera scrolls quickly. You really only have time to get a sense of what the pipe layout is doing and hope for the best. Funnily enough, I didn't do too bad at this game when I was a player guiding the chest. I'm not quite sure how that's possible though because I felt like I was never able to fully follow the pipe maze. I ascribe it to guided luck. Oh, and also, if you're one of the 3 players that isn't choosing where the chest goes down, you're going to do absolutely nothing. That's right, they made a game where you do less than in Crane Game. At least in that one there was a 1 in 3 chance you'd be the chosen player who had to try and scrim away from the other player's grasp. In this one, you don't even have that. You just stand there and see where fate takes you. I don't like that. I get what they were going for with this minigame. There can be something fun about trying to follow the pipe maze. But as a 1 versus 3 game, this is a horrible idea. There shouldn't be any games in which the majority of players won't do a single thing. This should have been made a single player game. You still could have had all 4 players lined up underneath the pipes, but in the event that the player playing the minigame didn't get the treasure chest themselves, someone else could have gotten it. At least then you wouldn't have wasted an entire round's minigame on doing nothing. Unfortunately, I'm giving this one 2 stars out of 5. Minigames shouldn't have 3 out of the 4 players doing nothing. That's not fun. Creating this as a single player minigame would have made it a forgettable but acceptable layover in a game of Mario Party. As it is now, it only brings down the party atmosphere. You're making a party game, and when the entire board game section of it already involves waiting for your turn, don't ruin it by causing 3 players to still have nothing to do when a minigame finally comes around. You're better than this. Or maybe you're not. I did just go through torture with my last 2 reviews. Well, that's it for today. Sorry for another downer review. Will our next minigame finally pick it up with something a bit better? We'll find out tomorrow when we review Piranha's Pursuit. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want to join me. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's minigame is Piranha's Pursuit, and as you can tell, I'm pretty excited for it. It's a 1 vs 3 minigame. One person runs away from a giant piranha plant on a skateboard by mashing B, while the other 3 players do ground pounds on a cloud to make it rain down on the piranha so it goes faster. And if you think that sounds like the least fun way to execute a game like this, we'd be in agreement. Mashing buttons in minigames is becoming so boring. At first I just hated them, but now I'm beginning to despise them. It's hard to provide any variety in a minigame when your main command is to hit a button as fast as you can. At least this one has you jumping over obstacles, but even that is done while you're still mashing down that B button. There's also a slight lag to it which is just long enough to irritate you every time you trip over another log. All these button masher minigames feel like the same thing. The setting doesn't matter because you're still doing the exact same thing over and over. It's a similar story for the players on the cloud. There's some light, and I emphasize light, strategy, and spacing out your ground pounds so that it's always raining. If 2 people ground pound at the same time, it sends down the same amount of rain as a single player's ground pound would. I was also confused on when the rain was having any effect because there are times the rain cloud won't be over the piranha plant's head. Does that mean the rain isn't doing anything, or is that just for show? But that's about all you'll have to think about. There's also a cooldown period of a second or 2 before you can ground pound again, so it feels especially obnoxious. You'll feel slow and bored and mad at the developers for creating yet another repetitive game where you do the same annoying thing the entire time. They had to have had better ideas than this. I also felt like it was pretty hard to catch the skateboarder. Maybe I was just playing with good players, but even I didn't lose after playing it once and figuring out the tricks to it. Avoid the obstacles and watch for the trees that are about to fall over in front of you and you'll be fine. Just keep mashing on that controller. It's also pretty egregious that they couldn't even be bothered to randomize the obstacles in the level. Instead, every log, boulder, and falling tree is in the same exact position every time. It's not as big of a problem in this game as others since it would be pretty hard to memorize it without playing over and over, but I still think it's lazy. One thing to note is that there is the potential for more than the standard 10 coins to be had here. If the solo player wins, they get 5 coins from every player, and if the 3 players win, they each get 5 coins from the solo player. So depending on your position in the game, there's more to gain or more to lose than in most minigames. This one is getting 1 star out of 5 from me. I don't have any more patience for these. They aren't fun, and this one has extra annoyances that lower it from the 2 stars I've given button mashers in the past. Jumping has a lag, there's a cooldown for ground pounds, and the cloud doesn't stay over the piranha plant at all times, so it's confusing as to whether you're even doing anything to help your team win. An all-around disappointing game. I need a better one tomorrow. We seem to be in a rut right now. There hasn't been a game that rated above a 2 since Mushroom Mix-Up 5 days ago. Please join me in reviewing Platform Peril tomorrow so that I can have someone to vent with if it's another bad one. If you want to be sure you don't miss it, subscribe and hit the bell to be reminded. Hope to see you then. For real, I need it. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today we're reviewing Platform Peril, a free-for-all minigame in which your goal is to get to the finish before anyone else. Along the way, you'll be making perilous jumps from platform to platform and dodging obstacles in your path. You also have the chance to grab a few extra coins as well, although there aren't a ton of them. I'm going to say up front that this minigame is better than the last several I've played, but it's still not that great. It has some weird quirks that make it hard to have a lot of fun with, like the isometric camera angle. I know they probably did this to remove your ability to see what's coming up in the distance, but it makes jumps harder than they should be, and I also find that it's hard for me to run in a straight line. Which leads me to another big issue. You pretty much have to run in a straight line if you want to win. It doesn't matter if several people reach the finish line, which a lot of times they will. It only matters who did it first. And unless you fall off, everyone will pretty much always be right on top of each other when you get there. So that fraction of a second where you ran diagonally to get out of the way of an obstacle may very well cost you the game. You might get unlucky and have more obstacles in your path than another player does, and through no fault of your own, that will be enough to cost you the game. It doesn't matter that you dodge them all and stay on the course. It comes down to luck. That shouldn't ever happen in a game of skill like this one is. I think the game would have been a lot better if it was played from above. It would allow you to know what straight was, and it would still prevent you from seeing too far ahead. It would also go a long way to let everyone who crosses the finish line win. Or if not that, at least do something to make this a game of skill and not luck. Perhaps everyone should be running on their own track so that everyone could have the exact same obstacles. To prevent so many people from winning each time, you could make it harder. Maybe put the characters on a treadmill that speeds up and slows down to mess up their jumps. I don't know. But the way it is now isn't great. With iterations it could be though. I'm going to give this one 2 stars out of 5. I almost gave it 3, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that almost every facet of this game has some annoyance in it that stops it from being that fun. I could see myself enjoying a game like this if they improve on it in a future game, but right now I don't. Okay, that's all for today. Subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow for a review of Running of the Bulb. Let's hope this one lights up the game a little bit, because it needs it. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello, and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today we're talking about Running of the Bulb. The players must work together to run away from the boo and get the bulb to the end of the stage. To do this, the 3 players without the bulb work defense by punching away the small boos so that the player with the bulb can get by. If any of the players are touched by the boos, they get possessed and have to be punched by another player to return to normal. Also, if anyone is too slow and lags behind, they'll be overtaken by the large boo and leave the game. Also, there are thwomps to watch out for. If you get smashed, you're likely to become possessed by a boo. But don't worry, as long as the bulb reaches the end of the level, everyone wins, even the ones who died. So this really is a team effort all around. Whew, that's it. This one is kind of complicated, but it's also pretty fun. It feels a little deeper than most minigames, which is a refreshing change. I'm not saying they should all be like this, because simplicity can be just as fun, but it works for this minigame. It feels more like a regular game, and you have to think and strategize to win. It's also fun having a game that makes everyone work together as a team. We really haven't played anything like this yet. I come to Mario Party for those moments of screwing each other over and trying to sabotage other players, but having a game like this helps break that monotony. That's pretty cool. It's not perfect though. Like most minigames in Mario Party, the controls are pretty muddy. Punching isn't as responsive as you'd like, and it's hard to tell when you're near enough to punch a boo. But the game seems pretty forgiving about how close the boos have to be to possess you, and their hitboxes are relatively large, so it doesn't ever become a huge issue. It just feels off when you're playing it. It's nice coming across a minigame like Running of the Bulb. It's not one that sticks out much in my mind from when I originally played this game, but it's enjoyable. Almost a hidden gem, if you will. It's deeper than most of the other minigames in here, and working as a team is a refreshing change. I'm giving this one 4 stars out of 5. It's a good one. Okay, so I guess Running of the Bulb did end up being a bright spot after a string of mediocre minigames. My faith in Mario Party has been rejuvenated, and I'm ready to review another minigame tomorrow, which will be Shell Game. Can't say the name is exciting, but hopefully the minigame will be. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello, and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Step right up, step right up. Test your skills and see how fast your eyes are. Keep your eyes on the prize and don't let it get away. If you know where it is, you'll win big. Yep, today's minigame is Shell Game, a A take on the classic follow the ball game usually performed under 3 cups. Shell game, however, has 4 objects, Koopa shells, and inside one of them is a treasure chest with 10 coins. Pick the right one and the coins are yours. Simple concept, and the controls are just as simple. You move with the control stick, jump with A, punch with B, and ground pound with A and Z. Wait, what? Yeah, I have absolutely no idea why it gives you so many controls. To pick a Koopa shell, you just need to walk up to it. You don't even have to jump on it. So why did they give you so many controls? I thought maybe you could do something with them that would change the outcome in your favor, but as far as I could find out, you can't. You can't move at all until the Koopas stop, and at that point, any interaction with a shell opens it up. I guess the designers just wanted to be sure you could pick a shell in whatever way you preferred. It's odd. I'm glad they did it though, because it gave me something to talk about in this game. Other than that, you know what you're getting. It's your basic run-of-the-mill single-player minigame. There's no added twist to it whatsoever to make it more exciting. Just follow the shells and choose where you think the treasure is. They move at a brisk pace, but I was able to follow the treasure pretty well. It could be that I'm just good at the game though, because I feel like it's pretty hard. If you blink or look away for even a second, you'll be guessing. Okay, so that's the game. There's not even much to sum up. Follow the treasure, win a prize. You know the drill. I give it 2 out of 5 stars. There's nothing to it. I could give it 3 for being so run-of-the-mill, but I don't think it deserves it. There's no twist on the formula to spark it up. It's as basic as you can get. I'm literally adding sentences now just to make this review longer, so I think it's time to stop. Tomorrow will be the review of Shy Guy Says, and if you want to find out exactly what they say, then you'll have to come back and join me. Oh, and subscribe and hit the bell so you remember. Hope to see you then.
Miss.
Oh no!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. At the end of yesterday's review, I left you on a cliffhanger. Today's minigame is Shy Guy Says, and I promised to let you know what Shy Guy says. Well, the answer is nothing. Turns out, Shy Guy is so shy they hold up flags instead of talking. That's right. In this free-for-all minigame, everyone seems to be taken captive by a Shy Guy. Everyone is in a barrel tied to the back of Shy Guy's boat, and the only way not to be sent out to certain death in the ocean is by raising the same color flag as Shy Guy. The white flag is mapped to A and the red flag to B. If you hold up the wrong color or take too long raising a flag, Shy Guy cuts your rope and sends you away, seemingly with no remorse. It's do or die on this ship. The game gets progressively harder the longer it goes on for. They start raising the flags faster, giving you less time to raise one yourself. They also play dirty sometimes and raise 2 flags at first before lowering one. I'm pretty sure they're hoping to kill you. It's fun though. I like games that feel tense like this. The longer it goes on, the more the anticipation rises. It makes winning a rush, and it's one of those games that feels good when it comes down to 2 of you and the other person finally makes a mistake and loses. These tend to make the best party games in my experience. It's also a game that I remember from my early days playing Mario Party, so I think that means it was a lot of fun. For a game with such a simple concept, it seems weird giving it such a high score, but I think it deserves it. There are other simple minigames that don't fare as well, but really it comes down to execution and how well they fit into the party atmosphere of the game. Fortunately, this game nails both facets, so I have no issues giving it 5 out of 5 stars. It's a great game that everybody likes to play. It's tense and fun and causes a lot of yelling and cheering. Not every minigame can be this simple, but every minigame should mesh as well as this one does in a party game. It's what Mario Party is all about. So it looks like we're back in the black for minigames. It's been a bit since we've had a 5 out of 5 game. And now that we're down to the last 10 or so, it makes me wonder how many are left. There has to be some gems, right? Tomorrow's minigame will be Skateboard Scamper. Will it be the Tony Hawk of minigames? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Finish.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Today's review is for a game called Skateboard Scamper. The dictionary defines scampering as running with quick, light steps, especially through fear or excitement. So I suppose Skateboard Scamper is as fitting a name as any. You're surely scared since the ground is falling away behind you with nothing but lava beneath to catch your fall.
Ready?
And one of your feet is running with quick, light steps. So sure, the name works. To be more specific, this is a free-for-all minigame where you have to mash the B button to move and hit the A button to jump over the obstacles, which are thwomps at various heights. The goal is to avoid falling behind to your death and to be the first to cross the finish line. But really it's your standard button masher. It's Piranha's Pursuit with every character on a skateboard. I suppose that's an improvement since being the skateboarder was the more fun position to play in that game. That doesn't make me like it anymore though. Both the positions sucked. But also, I don't get how to win this one. I never won a single time I played. Nobody ever fell off, but only the first player to cross the finish line wins. How do you do that though? There's an invisible line in front of everyone that prevents you from pulling ahead of everyone else. Sometimes I purposely fell behind just to test things and it was easy for me to catch up to the other players, but I could never pass them. Even at the last straightaway before the goal where there weren't any obstacles, no matter how fast you hit the B button, you can't go any faster. So apparently there's a max speed and a max line you can't go beyond. That really hurts this game though, because even though everyone seems to cross the finish line at the same time, only one person wins. What am I supposed to do here? There's no way to get the upper hand. You can't attack the other players, and if anyone falls behind, you can catch up to the pack as long as you have enough track left to do so. But you can never pull ahead of them. I don't get it and it really ruins the game. It almost seems like luck to win. I'm giving this minigame 1 out of 5 stars. Button mashers aren't really that fun. This one could be unassuming enough to get a higher score if not for the weird quirks holding it back. The fact that winning is tough to the point of almost being random really ruins it. The game has no issue with rubber banding, but having a race in which no player can pull ahead doesn't make any sense. There's got to be a better way to make this game. Maybe next time. What a fall from Shy Guy Says. We went from one of the best minigames of the pack to one of the worst. It's too bad they all can't be that fun, but maybe tomorrow's will be. The game will be Slot Car Derby, and if you want to know how it compares, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Go! Yeah!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. When I was a kid, my cousins had a slot car set. The cars would be set in a lane with the track, and electricity would make the car go every time you press the button on your controller. But if you went too fast around the corners, you'd spin out or crash. And that's slot car racing. Win the race while managing your speed so you don't spin out. Mario Party Slot Car Derby is exactly that. Make your way around the track and cross the finish line first. You go by tilting the control stick and slow down by letting it go. It feels pretty close to an actual slot car set. Since the track is all connected, if you fall back too far and someone laps you, they'll send you flying off the track and you'll be out of the game. And just like in real life, if you speed around the corners, your car will start to skid and spin out unless you pull back on the throttle in time. I'm really bad at this game. I didn't win a single time and I don't even know that I came close. No matter how carefully I tried to take the turns, I'd either go way too slow and fall ridiculously behind, or go too fast and spin out, also falling ridiculously behind. I couldn't find that sweet spot. It's not to say that it's necessarily the same for everybody though. I can't mark a game down because I'm bad at it. It also features 2 different tracks, which is pretty nice. One has more turns than the other, making it more difficult. It's a nice way to keep things fresh. I appreciate that. But for some reason, this game doesn't quite get to the level of being a really likable minigame for me. It's fine and it does what it sets out to do. I just don't personally feel like it reaches the level of being super fun. I'm giving it 3 stars out of 5. If you've ever played slot cars, you'll know what this is like. It's difficult, but in a realistic way. Maybe I'm subconsciously biased because I'm bad at it, but I feel like this is a very middle-of-the-pack minigame. I don't mind playing it, but nothing about it stands out as being one I look forward to. Maybe you feel differently. Let me know in the comments if you do. And that's it for today. Tomorrow we're back with another game featuring slots of a different kind, Slot Machine. Will we win big with it or end up losing it all? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. I've never been a big gambler. My favorite part of the casino the few times I've gone has been the buffet. Endless food is amazing. If only money were endless, maybe I'd enjoy gambling with it a bit more, but I suppose then there would be no point. Today's minigame is Slot Machine. It's a single player game where the goal is to line up 3 of the same icons in a row. Each icon gives you a different amount of coins for lining them up, ranging from 1 coin for the coin icon to 20 coins for Mario's hat. There's nothing else to explain about this one. You know what you're getting into. Hit the block 3 times and you're done. I did notice that the icons seem to spin faster for the high coin icons though. Watch the speed here as I get 3 mushrooms. And now watch how much faster they are when I get 3 treasure chests. It adds a bit of strategy when you have to decide whether you want to go for an easier match with a lower payout or go for a harder match but more coins. Unlike most single player minigames, you don't lose 5 coins if you lose. You just end up with nothing, so maybe that'll help in your decision. Other than that, there's not much here to talk about. These single player minigames seem especially egregious when they don't add any tricks or twists on the formula they're based off of. What you see is what you get, but it doesn't make these games that great. And like I've said in other reviews, in a party game like Mario Party, these moments where only a single player is playing really need something to spice them up if you want to keep the party atmosphere going. Unfortunately, this one has no spice and ends up tasting pretty bland. I'm going to have to give it 2 stars out of 5. It could be a 3-star game that comes and goes without a thought, but the fact that there's nothing to the formula besides being a basic slot machine game really hinders it. It doesn't even have any special game mechanics in it that make it fun to play. A minigame can provide chances to gain coins without being so banal, but in this case, it doesn't. Okay, that's it for today's review. Tomorrow's will be Teetering Tower. Hopefully it's teetering on the edge of greatness and not teetering on the brink of collapse. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. I love the Mario Party series. I've been playing it since I was a kid and I've always enjoyed it. Say what you will about the series, I know it's had its ups and downs, but overall I've enjoyed it. However, reviewing these minigames one by one has made me realize how much this game really rides the line of being mediocre. There are some great minigames to be found, but there are probably more that are bad or middling. Yet somehow, I still have fun playing the full game. I think Mario Party is about more than the sum of its parts. It's a great party game, but if you analyze the minigames too closely, you'll probably agree that it teeters on being a not so great game. Which brings me skidding to a halt in front of my review of Teetering Towers. Yeah, that segue was bad. But just like Mario Party minigames, they can't all be winners, and I accept my mediocrity. Teetering Towers is a single-player minigame in which you have to jump from pillar to pillar until you get to the goal. If you fall off, you lose. Along the way are towers with coins or bags of coins on them for you to collect, so if you choose your path carefully enough, you can end up with a nice little score on this one. But if you fall, you lose 5 coins. I think the biggest problem in this game is one that many of these minigames suffer from: muddy controls. I feel like every time I lost, it didn't seem like it was my fault. Instead, it felt like the jump button lagged behind my input. It's hard to tell what was going wrong though. It could have been that there's a lag between when you hit the A button and when you jump, but it could also be that the game gives you a window to jump before you fall down that I'm missing. I started to feel like maybe if I jumped when the pillar I was on was below a certain point, I'd miss my opportunity. I don't know for sure though, which doesn't do this minigame any favors. A good game should make it clear what you did wrong and when it was your fault. My instinct as someone who has grown up playing platformers was to stand on the edge of a pillar and jump at the last second when I was nearest the next pillar. But it seems like your best bet might be to stand a tiny bit back from the edge. As the pillar falls, the game automatically shifts you back from the edge, as if they didn't program it to account for the tilt of the ground below you, which allows you to hold forward on the control stick and jump. I think this gave me some forward momentum that I didn't have when I stood right on the edge, but again, I'm not sure because the minigame never made it clear. This game is a tough one. I was able to win it a couple times, but it seemed like it was 50% luck. this game had the precise controls of a Mario game, however, it would be far too easy to win. I don't think that's an excuse for shoddy controls, but that does mean this game would have to go through some serious changes to become better than it is. I'm going to give this one 2 out of 5 stars. It's nice that it allows you to get coins throughout the stage, but I feel like it's too hard to win unless you play it a bunch of times back to back. When you only have the chance to play it maybe once in a game of Mario Party, it's hard to get a feel for the controls. You're more likely to lose, which doesn't make this a great minigame. You shouldn't have to attune yourself to muddy controls in order to beat something. It should be about your own skill. Unfortunately, the biggest challenge in this minigame is making up for its own shortcomings. And as we get down to the end of minigames in this first Mario Party, we once again find ourselves walking a thin line between greatness and mediocrity. Tomorrow's minigame is Tightrope Treachery, and I can't help but feel it mirrors reality. We'll either walk that rope to the other side and find greatness, or fall into an abyss of lousy gameplay. Which will it be? Subscribe, hit the bell, and fall back into the thick of things with me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then.
Miss.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. Have you ever tried walking across a tightrope? I haven't, but I can barely walk along the curve of the road. Walking a tightrope has to take serious skills and coordination. I can't imagine the training that goes into it. So maybe it's fitting that today's minigame, Tightrope Treachery, is so difficult. Never once did I win this one, and never once did I see anyone, human or computer, win it either. This thing is near impossible. There was one time I saw a computer player get close, but then they still lost. Tightrope Treachery is a 1 vs 3 minigame where one player attempts to cross a tightrope and get to the goal, while the other 3 players hit A to shoot cannonballs at them. The player on the tightrope doesn't necessarily fall off if they're hit by a cannonball though. There's a bit of leeway on each side of the rope for them. If they're too close to the edges, they will fall off. Otherwise, they'll just land stunned for a few seconds before standing up and continuing on. There's also wind that sometimes blows through, so you'll have to account for that. I'll tell you though, it's so hard to feel like you have much in the way of defense in this game if you're on the tightrope. There's no blocking the cannonballs at all. I tried doing things like stopping short and hoping the cannonballs landed in front of me. There isn't enough time to react. Your controls are too shoddy to do that, and it's so hard to tell when you're going to fall off. I made a concerted effort to ignore the clock and just try and stay in the middle of the tightrope to see how far I could get, but I would still end up getting knocked off. When you have 3 people blasting cannonballs at you, it's hard to do much of anything. As soon as you stand up from one hit, another one knocks you back down. And if a gust of wind comes through at the wrong moment, you'll fall off before you can make it back to the middle of the rope. It sucks and it's not fun to play. Playing as one of the characters in the boat isn't fun either. There's a relatively large cooldown period between cannonball fires, so a lot of your time is spent sitting there hitting A until it fires again. It doesn't feel rewarding to be the one who knocks a player off the tightrope either, because you have no idea what the threshold is to do it. It feels like chance when it happens. Any game should feel rewarding to win. If it doesn't, you know there's serious problems. So unfortunately, Tightrope Treachery is getting 1 star out of 5. I feel like I've grown more comfortable handing these out. At first I was afraid to, and I tried to find value in any minigame I played. But the more the series has gone on, the more I've realized that sometimes these games just aren't that fun for anyone. This is one of those times. It's a concept that I feel like has potential. If I was there at the brainstorming meeting when this minigame idea came up, I could see it sounding fun. But it's the execution that ultimately makes or breaks any form of art, and that's where this falls short. It's near impossible for the player on the tightrope, and it's not really fun for the players in the boats. That's too bad. Well, that's another miss for Mario Party. It walked the rope and it wasn't able to recover. I'm keeping hope though. The Mario Party series hasn't lasted this long for nothing. Tomorrow's minigame is Tipsy Turny. Will it recover some ground for the series, or will it fall into the water as well? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then!
Miss.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! Throughout these reviews, I found that the most fun minigames are often those that have simple concepts and cause a tense competition between players. When you feel that anxiety of wanting to win before anyone else does, it makes it that much sweeter when it actually happens. Tipsy Tourney is a great example of this idea. The concept is simple. Every player has their own board with tiles they must flip over to reveal the hidden picture hidden underneath. Whoever flips over all of their tiles first wins. To do this, you move your board around, which causes it to tilt, making a Koopa shell slide over each tile and flipping them over. That's really all there is to it. This is a fun one. I like it because it's one that causes you to constantly be glancing at everyone else's screen to see where they're at on their board. You try to do this while focusing on your own board, and it makes it really tense. The closer everyone gets to winning, the more they begin to shout. And inevitably, there's a character or two who end up losing by only a tile or two and end up yelling in defeat. Being the winner is so rewarding when this happens. This game is great because it's one where a player of any skill level can win. Some games of skill are heavily tilted toward the players who have a lot of experience with video games or who have played a lot of Mario Party. They have their place, but it's good to have minigames like this where anyone can end up winning. It's what helps make Mario Party fun for anyone. Having said that, it's not without its issues. The controls leave a lot to be desired. I feel like I say this a lot in my reviews, but it still rings true. Tilting the board and trying to get your Koopa shell to move where you want it to doesn't feel as precise as you'd like. Sometimes I want to tilt the board at an angle so it moves diagonally, but rarely does it go how I want. Some of this is just the way real-world physics work, but a lot of it is because of the game. None of the movements of the board happen as fast as you want or expect them to. I found that most of the time when I won, it didn't feel like it was all skill. Instead, it felt like a little bit of skill mixed with luck on timing my movements just right. It's too bad that the controls hold this game back because it could have been perfect. As it is, I still give it 4 stars out of 5. It's fun to play no matter what. The concept is fun enough that you never go into it remembering how much the controls suffer. You still want to play it again. I look forward to playing this one every time it comes up. Maybe future iterations will improve on it, but right now, it's still a great minigame. Okay, we finally have another good one. Only 3 minigames left until we're done with the first Mario Party game. We're on the home stretch now. I'm curious to see how these ones turn out. Will they leave me wanting more, or will they knock the love of the series I have out of me? Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow when we review Treasure Divers to find out. Hope to see you then.
Finish!
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review! About 30 or so reviews ago, we reviewed a game called Deep Sea Divers. It was a 2 vs 2 game where one teammate had to dive for treasure while the other reeled them back up. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It wasn't very fun, but I got it over with and moved on to the next game. Until now. That's right, the fine people at HAL Labs pulled another sneaky on us and repackaged another minigame for a different combination of players. This one is a free-for-all game where everyone dives to get the treasure. You mash A to dive and try and avoid the sea life around you as you bring a chest to the surface. If you hit anything, you'll drop your treasure and become stunned for a few moments before you can move again. Anyone who watched the review of Deep Sea Divers knows the general idea of this one already. It's not complicated. Get as many coins as you can before they're all gone. The bigger the chest, the more coins it contains. And I have to say, this one is better than Deep Sea Divers. At least everyone is going for treasure here. Being the teammate in the boat during Deep Sea Divers was boring. I don't really like minigames where you have to mash on a button, but we've played worse. That's not to say this game is great though. It's really not. It's still forgettable. I don't think many people will groan when they have to play this one, but nobody will have very strong feelings for it. It's nice to get some extra coins if you're running low though. Other than that, there's not much to say that I haven't already said. The control's fine. Stay cautious around the sea life obstacles, and you should have no problem getting some coins. When it comes down to the last chest or two, I found that a good strategy is to swim below the character bringing it to the surface. That way, in the event that they get hit and drop the treasure, you can snatch it away and get it for yourself. This is a middling, forgettable minigame. It's an okay way to spend a minute getting some extra coins, so it has its place, but it's never going to go down as one of the classics. I suppose that's okay. They won't all be winners, and at least this one isn't egregiously bad. I give it 3 stars out of 5. And that does it for today. Tomorrow's semi-final minigame is Tug of War. Here's to hoping it tugs Mario Party to the side of greatness and not mediocrity. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow to find out. Hope to see you then. Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. One thing I've noticed about Mario Party is that it likes to put the players' heads on different things. They've been throwing on things like slot cars, bowling pins, and even Bowser. Well, today we're donning the suit once again with another game featuring Headless Bowser. It's a 1 vs 3 game called Tug of War, and as you can guess, you'll be partaking in a tug of war. And wouldn't you know it, to do that, you had to do everyone's favorite thing, rotate the control stick. Yay! God, it sucks. I'm so glad they did away with these after the first game. As far as I remember anyway. It'll be a rude surprise running into another one. There's nothing else to this minigame besides that. The Bowser player is on one side of the rope, the other 3 players on the other, and whichever side pulls the other off the cliff to their death wins. But I'll tell you, just like tightrope treachery, this game is impossible. Never once did I win at it, no matter what side I was on. I gave it everything I had as Bowser and was never able to have more success than a draw. On the other side, I wasn't any more lucky, but I was beaten by a computer playing as Bowser once or twice. I have no idea how you can win this. I rotated the control stick so hard that my palm is once again burnt and discolored. No matter how many of these games I play, it still amazes me that the developers thought these would be fun. And they like the idea of it so much that they made several games that are all the exact same thing. It doesn't matter what the setting of the minigame is. If all you're doing is rotating the control stick until you ruin your palm, they're all the same game. Figure out some new ideas. There's no way to give this game anything more than 1 star out of 5. Anytime one of these games comes up, everyone groans. If there was a way to turn off individual games in Mario Party, this would for sure be one of them. I would happily give up some variety for a sort of minigame's greatest hits in a heartbeat. I can see why they don't do it, since you would be messing up the balance of the game if you, for instance, got rid of all the minigames that had the opportunity to gain extra coins from them, but it doesn't stop me from wishing I never had to play this game ever again. Luckily, today is over and tomorrow is another review. Our last of this game, in fact. We'll be going out on Whack-A-Plant. Here's to hoping it leaves on a strong note. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow if you want to find out. Hope to see you then.
Draw.
Hello and welcome to another Mario Party minigame review. This is it, the final minigame. We've been through 48 minigames of varying quality, but today we're down to our last one. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings after playing through all these again that I'll be sharing in a special video later on, but I'll just say that this game has a lot of highs and lows. It must have been mostly okay though, because even here at this final review, I still haven't lost hope for another fun one. The last minigame is called Whack-A-Plant and it's a single player game. Kinda feels weird to be ending Mario Party on something for 1 player, but you can't change the alphabet. I've tried. You play on top of 9 pipes where piranha plants will come out. For every one you jump on, you'll get a coin. Your only goal is to get as many as you can before the game ends. The controls aren't bad. You jump with A obviously, but you can also hold it down longer to jump further. Handy for going to another piranha plant when there's a gap between them. There's also bounce pads on the outer edges that you can use if needed, but I never did. It's a nice touch that I appreciate though. As far as single player games go, this one is pretty good. It's even good compared to multiplayer minigames. If you play it well enough, you have the opportunity to rack up some serious coins for yourself. The number of piranha plants that come up increases by 1 every time to a maximum of 8. The highest amount I ever jumped on in a game was 30, but there's enough piranha plants to get to 36 if you're good enough. You can't really lose at this minigame unless you make a concerted effort not to get any coins, so it really is a bonus game if you're lucky enough to land on it. I like this one. I was a little disappointed when I realized the last minigame would be a single player one, but I'm okay with it turning out to be this. I played a lot worse than this one, and it was kind of cool going out on a minigame that you can't lose, and that's all about just having fun and getting as many coins as you can. This is my favorite single player minigame of the bunch, and it beats out a whole lot of other minigames as well. The other players you're with might be miffed at you getting to play this one since you can potentially rack up so many coins at once, but it's nice to have one that's fun without being tense or very dangerous. I'll give it 4 stars out of 5. It's pretty good and I enjoyed playing it. It's rewarding when you jump on every piranha plant's head without falling off, and getting so many coins is a great bonus. Okay, that's it then. We're done with the entirety of Mario Party 1 minigames. But don't worry, there's still some goodies to come. Before diving into Mario Party 2, we have a few bonus minigame videos as well as a recap video with some fun stats breaking down all the minigame ratings. If you want to stick around and see some hidden goodies Mario Party has to offer, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow where we'll be playing the elusive Bumper Ball Maze 1, 2, and 3 and seeing how they stack up. Hope to see you then!
Finish!
Hello and welcome to a special bonus Mario Party minigame review. We may be done with the main minigames, but there's still some fun to be had here. And I'm especially excited for today because we'll be playing an extension of Bumper Balls, one of the best minigames in Mario Party. Bumper Ball Maze has you atop a ball just like in the regular minigame, but this time, instead of trying to knock everyone else off, you're trying to get to the goal at the end of a thin, winding course. And as extra pressure, you only have a minute to do it. But before we talk about the actual game, you're probably wondering how to unlock these for yourself. There's 3 different mazes to unlock. Bumper Ball Maze 1 is unlocked by getting to the end of Minigame Island. This is a single player mode in Mario Party that tasks you with completing different goals within each minigame, such as stealing a certain amount of coins, completing it within a certain time, or being the only player left. It's honestly pretty fun. It's cool that they give you extra goals to achieve in each minigame, although it does suck when you have to play something like Tug of War or Tightrope Treachery. Ugh. Unlocking Bumper Ball Maze 2 means completing every minigame in Minigame Island. Since it's possible to get to the end of the mode using shortcuts to skip some minigames, this is an added challenge. And once you have Bumper Ball Mazes 1 and 2, Bumper Ball Maze 3 can be unlocked by setting new time records within the first 2. These are really fun. If you've never played them, you should try to unlock them because they're a fun treat. It makes me want more of them, honestly. I could see myself playing randomly generated mazes quite a bit if that was an option, but 3 is still nice. I had more fun with these than I did with the majority of regular minigames in Mario Party, just because I like the skill and challenge of beating them quickly. I can definitely see it helping build your coordination. Bumper Ball Maze 1, 2, and 3 get 5 out of 5 stars from me. They're great fun. When I make my recap video for all the minigames, I won't be including this score in with the rest since this is only a bonus minigame and can't be played during a regular round of Mario Party, but I wanted you to know how good they are. It's a cool unlockable. And that's it for Bumper Ball Maze. Tomorrow we have another unlockable goodie for you, and that's the Mecha Fly Guy toy. If you've never heard of it or you want to hear about it, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back tomorrow to check it out. Hope to see you then.
New record! Woohoo! Start!
Hello and welcome to another bonus Mario Party minigame review. Now that we're done with the core minigames in Mario Party, I wanted the opportunity to talk about some cool hidden bonuses that you can find in the game. Yesterday we talked about Bumper Ball Maze, and today is another unlockable that's a bit different from a regular minigame. It's the Mecha Fly Guy toy. Mecha Fly Guy is a toy that can be bought for 100 coins in the mushroom shop, and after it's bought, you can play with it in the minigame house anytime you fancy. But really, you probably won't fancy a whole lot because unfortunately, this is nothing but another cleverly hidden way to get you to ruin your palm spinning the control stick. They just couldn't help sticking one more of these in here, could they? It's sick the way they treat us. Sadistic. The point of the toy is to spin the control stick as much as you can in 10 seconds to wind up the mecha fly guy. The more you spin, the further it flies. It also helps keep track of your high score for those times when you just haven't burned through all the skin on your palm yet, and you need a way to do a little more damage. I only played this enough to get the footage for it, but my high score was 39. It seems crazy to think that I spun the control stick almost 4 times per second. It seems so fast. I've heard people claim even higher scores though, which is crazy to me. They must hate themselves. Don't put yourself through the torture of playing this. This is one toy that should be kept high up on the shelf where no innocent little children will ever be able to succumb to its evils. And you shouldn't either. But if you're a sadistic freak like those people at HAL Labs, let me know in the comments what your record is. I'm curious to know what the highest is. Anyway, that's it for this horrible creation. Obviously it gets 1 star out of 5. No, you know what? I'm giving this one a 0. It doesn't matter, this is only a bonus. There are no rules anymore. -5, negative infinity, that's how many stars it gets. And it deserves every -1 of them. What a way to go out. Mario Party, you crazy, crazy game. You leave me bloodied and bruised, but I still come back for more. If you're watching this, thanks for sticking around. I hope I've helped you get your fix so you can avoid ever playing with this thing. Tomorrow will be the last bonus video for Mario Party, and it's an interesting one. We'll be taking a look at some of the minigames that were left on the cutting room floor. Through the magic of modern technology, they've been found and brought to light. They're in various states of completion, but it's interesting to see what could have been, so come back and watch it. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join me tomorrow for the final bonus video. Thanks for sticking it out with me so far, and I hope to see you then. Mario Party is a hard game to understand. How can a game that brought us classics such as Bumper Balls and Facelift be the same game to feature awful minigames like Paddle Battle and Pedal Power, specifically designed to harm anyone foolish enough to play them? It's a riddle scientists are still figuring out to this day, but one thing is for sure. Mario Party holds a special place in the hearts of many of us. It has its ups and downs, but there's a magic there that has allowed the series to continue to this day. But like so many other games, Mario Party has its own share of cut content. In this video, I'll be talking about the minigames that didn't make the cut in the original Mario Party. Now, you may be asking yourself, but if they were masochistic enough to let such garbage through as tug-of-war and tightrope treachery, surely none of the games that got the axe can be that great, right? Well, I say, most of them are in unfinished states, but some of them are complete enough to play through, and honestly, they're not that bad. Definitely better than some of the garbage we got. First up is an incomplete game that translates to all or nothing. It seems to be an early version of Chance Time. The advice screen talks about getting a random Mario or Bowser mark, with the Mario mark being needed to win. I didn't have much luck getting the actual game to work though. After starting it up, you're met with a few speech bubbles before beginning the minigame, but unfortunately, I can never get my character or game objects to appear on the screen. However, after randomly jumping for a bit, I was able to complete the game and get to the point where the game tells you the outcome. It's not the most interesting minigame we'll talk about today, but it's interesting nonetheless. Next up is one that's even less finished than All or Nothing, called Bungee Jump. But I won't spend a lot of time on it because, as you can see, the game freezes before you actually get to the instruction screen. Thanks to the cuttingroomfloor.net, however, I did find out that both a control screen as well as an advice screen can be found in the data. The advice says, the bungee cord can stretch a bit. Press the button when you're right in front of the coin. If your timing is right, you'll get the treasure. Our last one before getting to the more fully featured unused minigames is one called Tour de Mario. Based on the name and the hints gathered in the instructions, it seems like this would have been some sort of cycling minigame. It must not have gotten very far along though, because the game's preview just says now printing instead of showing a screenshot, and there's large Japanese lettering over the screen that translates to under construction. Upon starting the minigame, you're actually brought to Bumper Ball Maze 1 for some reason, and the rest of it finishes up like normal. I'm assuming they chose a random minigame as a temporary placeholder here, and Bumper Ball Maze 1 just happened to be the one. Next up is Same Game. Besides the fact that this one doesn't seem to feature an instruction screen, the rest of it is pretty much complete. It's a puzzle game where your goal is to try and clear the room of all the colored blocks in order to reach the treasure chest in the corner. You can only get rid of them if 2 or more of a color are touching. If you're left with any stragglers at the end, then you're stuck leaving through one of the doors on the sides of the room and get only a single coin. Honestly though, this one's pretty fun. I played this a decent amount when I was getting footage because I really enjoyed it. It makes me wish they left it in because it's a solid idea for a single-player minigame. Puzzle games aren't really featured much in Mario Party, and at least there's more gameplay involved than something like Shell Game or Slot Machine where you're only doing one simple thing, right? I wonder what happened to make them scrap this one. I know it's based on a puzzle game originally released in 1985 under the name Chain Shot that's had many iterations since, so maybe licensing issues got in the way. Not really sure. Lastly, we have Yoshi's Tongue Meeting, which I can't imagine would have ended up as the final English name for this one.
Go!
In it, everyone is riding a Yoshi, unless someone plays as Yoshi, in which it's on its own. I think that's a funny touch. And your goal is to reunite the baby Wiggler on Yoshi's tongue with its mother on the other side of the river. You have to press the A button at exactly the right moment to deliver the baby into the mother's arms. Hit it too early and it won't make it. Hit it too late and you'll knock the mother flying. This one is funny. It reminds me of a WarioWare microgame because of its zany detail and concept. Who would have thought of the concept of putting a baby Wiggler on Yoshi's tongue to get it across the river to its mom? And although the only gameplay involved is pushing A at the right moment, it's not bad. I've played worse, I'll say that. It's rewarding to hit it at just the right moment, although it's hard to tell where the right point to hit it is until you play it a few times. Should you hit it just before the mother? When it's touching her arms? When their faces touch? It doesn't give you any context to know, and maybe that's why it was cut. The sound effects are also clearly not done, with it mostly featuring random noises happening throughout. With a little refining, this could have worked, but it definitely feels not quite done. So that's it, Mario Party's unused minigames. It's interesting to take a peek behind the curtain and see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. There's a lot of other unused content that can be found, such as pictures and sound effects, but the minigames are by far the most interesting to me. Now, if only those minigames that made you rotate the control stick could be cut. Ah, in a perfect world. If you like this video and you want to see more of Mario Party's highs, lows, and everything in between, stick around and watch some of my other videos. I'll also be posting a couple videos over the next 2 days, listing Mario Party's 10 best minigames and 10 worst minigames. If you want to be sure to catch those, subscribe and hit the bell to be reminded. I'd appreciate it if you would. Hope to see you then.